World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
In endurance racing, it is about teamwork. It is about how you can work together on your setup and also affecting a smooth and consistent driver change. Welcome everyone to World Pro Racing with Alex Goldschmidt and Nico Hilbrand being your commentating duo for tonight. And what's more, we welcome you all to the very first running of the Duo series here on World Pro Racing, which is being broadcasted on the World Pro Racing YouTube, Facebook and Twitch streams, as well as our good friends over at Esports Television, Motorsport.tv and Malta's TVM Sport channel. We'd also like to thank all our partners as always, Gaming Malta, Thrustmaster, GTM Mega Racing, HyperX and AMD. And tonight we head to the Ardennes Forest in Belgium, just situated around 150 kilometres west of the capital city of Belgium, that is Brussels, and it is the iconic Spa-Francorchamps circuit, just over 7 kilometres in length, with such iconic corners such as Pouhon, Blanchimont, Eau Rouge and Radiant. And Nico, firstly, a very good evening, buddy. It's been a long time since we've been working on the commentary here at World Pro Racing. Good to see you, but a real test for the drivers, 90 minutes of racing action, and there is a mandatory driver change. And where better than to start at Spa-Francorchamps, home of the Total 24 Hours of Spa that quite recently hosted its 70th anniversary.
Hi Alex, great to be working with you again. Hello everyone, and you're completely correct. Because of course, the Ardennes Forest, Spa-Francorchamps, not only very iconic for the Belgian Grand Prix, but of course for endurance racing with all sorts of machinery. And GT3 of course is definitely, I think, one of the widest shared classes among the globe for endurance racing, and even if 90 minutes isn't quite, like a 24-hour endurance race, it's still quite some distance to cover. And basically with this longer ADAC GT Master Race format, or well, SRO GT Sprint Series format, with that driver swap, I think we're going to look at a very interesting evening today.
Yes, so we're set to have 22 cars, that's a total of 44 drivers, racing over 90 minutes of action, which will take place after the 15-minute free practice session and then a 20-minute qualification session itself. So we will be going on for quite a lengthy time. Also, a bit of a reminder of what is coming up here on World Pro Racing. Firstly, don't forget to follow us on all the relevant social media channels at World Pro Racing on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Tomorrow night we'll see us head to the midway point of the Alpine GT4 Championship, which if memory serves me correctly will be the halfway point at Adelaide, and then we have round 2 of the AMD GT4 Championship this coming Thursday before round 3 of the third season of the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizioni Sprint Series. We'll then also return to Mega Sprint Tuesdays at Brands Hatch on the 1st of June. And also, one thing that we do need to tell you all about, and if you haven't headed to our website, head to worldproracing.com for further information, because the Malta National GT3 Championship for 2021, which will be in collaboration with the Malta Motorsport Federation, is, it's basically that effectively the sign-ups are open and the winner will be able to represent Malta at the forthcoming FIA Motorsport Games, which this year will, if memory serves me correctly, take place at Le Castellet, Circuit Paul Ricard in France, later on this year. So there is still plenty to come. But Nico, obviously coming back to the endurance side of things, now you know this from your own exploits in sim racing as well, that it is about making sure that the setup is conducive to both driving styles of the drivers themselves, and you've got to make sure that that pit stop is pretty fluid.
Absolutely, and especially in a very long pit lane, which we have here in Spa. Of course, normally it would just be the main pit straight that we have on the start-finish straight, but in this particular layout, because ACC of course represents the SRO GT World Challenge, we actually have both pit lanes combined. So it starts before the start-finish straight and goes all the way down and ends at the exit of Radion. And of course, at Eau Rouge, basically we come off the limiter and we're still completely by ourselves. But of course, that's still a hell of a long time. 60 seconds around, that is basically the time that you get calculated on if you don't deliver a drive-through penalty towards the end of the race. And I'd say that is basically around the same time that you do lose. So really getting everything right here, you know, getting on the right time on the limiter, getting on the right time off the limiter, and just getting that driver swap, that pit stop perfectly timed. It's really, really just one of the most important things in this entire race, simply because of the amount of time that you spend in the pit lane.
Well, as you can now see, the cars are out on circuit for the remaining 9 minutes and 40 seconds of this session. So it's a 15-minute free practice, 20-minute qualifying session, and then a 90-minute race. We're actually with Clayton Barney, who's partnered with Reece Spence-Robb in the number 29 Aston Martin. 19 cars, so some familiar names here on World Pro Racing, such as Chris Pinchbeck, Jack Noller, and also Jan-Niklas Ebrich. Dean Riley is also in the field, and he's partnered with his teammate at SimSport Solutions, Rich Smith. And you can just hear the howl of that 4-litre twin-turbo V8 Aston Martin. Going now up the hill, through Eau Rouge and Radion. And Nico, one of the most specific points that we're going to talk about here is that bending track limits or breaking track limits can be quite easily done coming through from Eau Rouge into Radion, especially at the top part of the hill.
Absolutely, you can go either too wide on the left side, which is of course over the inside curb, at just over the crest, and also on the right side, of course, on the complete exit after you're done with the left-hander part of Radion. But as you said, it can be so easily done, not just because your car may be a little bit unsettled. If you just hit that curb at the crest on the left side a little bit wrong, you can actually get sent airborne, which would probably send you a little bit over to the right again, and doesn't quite leave you enough time to slow down properly. So you really have to watch out how you do this, and as you said earlier, it's really just so important that the setup is absolutely on point, not just to suit both drivers, but to suit these extreme elevation changes and extreme loads that the cars are experiencing here.
Yeah, so Clayton Barney coming through into Stavelot, having exited Les Fagnes. You can bend but not abuse track limits coming out of Stavelot, as now you run towards Blanchimont. And what's more, these drivers will be in top gear at over the best part of 265 kilometres an hour before the hefty braking zone. As that's very neat and tidy there by Clayton Barney, as Dean Riley has now gone to the top of the timesheets. 2 minutes 16.845 in the number 22. And then we have got the number 37 of McClellan. That's Colin McClellan, who's partnered with Milo Kost in this duo adventure. And you can see there that at the moment Lima in the number 101 is quickest in sector 1. And at the moment, Riley is quickest in sectors 2 and 3, and has gone has just been, that actually, as I say that, McClellan has just gone quickest of anybody, 2 minutes 16.590, as Thiago Lima, another one that's been with us here at World Pro Racing for quite a few weeks and months. There was a brief yellow flag there, as Stefan Linga Thompson from Trash Panda Racing, it looks like, is the team name there. They do come out with some good ones. Christopher Lagertson in the 666 Garage 59 liveried Aston Martin rounds out the top 16, and 16 cars have already secured lap times, and let's see if Lagertson goes any quicker on that particular occasion. That lap time looked to be disallowed, but would have put him a little bit further up the order as one of the Aston Martins makes its way out. That could be that's quite a few, because we do, Nico, have a plethora of Aston Martins, as I've seen a yellow flag come out of, that is going out of Radion onto the Kemmel Straight. That's Temej in the 95 Ferrari that has brought out the yellow flag. as Giannorio now makes his way through into the bus stop chicane. I love the sound of that V10 from that Audi when you literally jump down the downshifts, and it just absolutely sings gloriously there, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and not just obviously the Audi, but also the Lamborghini with that specific sound note, and actually also the Reiter, which is basically the same engine but a slightly different exhaust system, so a little bit different again. So it's really interesting how you can have these different engine notes. And of course, Assetto Corsa Competizione, as you said, you know, the engine sings perfectly, and it's just absolutely glorious how they brought these wonderful engine notes into life here.
Mikael Machega, a regular on Gran Turismo Sport when we see him here on World Pro Racing, running in the Lexus, and is coming through towards the bus stop chicane. Lexus also very, very good in terms of handling characteristics as a GT3 car. And up until quite recently, Lexus was fully behind this GT3 Works program. Mikael Machega puts the number 77 up to 10th behind Dean Vella, as David Ohak, also going for the Lexus, rounds out the top 11 positions. And it's fractionally close between them. SimSport Racing has Simon Wilkes in that car, and is also partnered by Paul Lindsay in that particular vehicle. So good to see some of the community from SimSport Racing and SimSport Solutions. Adam Isolovic and Gene Pinchbeck, warm welcome to you all on the chat, as the 666 of Leigritson has brought out the yellow flags coming through Les Fagnes and Campus, as Simon Wilkes yet to set a lap time here in free practice, but now buries the throttle in that Aston Martin and brings it across the line. Goes P14 behind Grönberg in the number 13 car, who funnily enough is 13th position, but at the moment it is an Aston Martin 1, 2, 3, and the next best place manufacturer is Bussink in the number 42 car. Elko Bussink with Tony McCoven. And then Chris Pinchbeck making it 4 Astons in the top 5. So really good to see that Clayton Barney's really good at got that car hooked up through Pouhon, which originally known as Double Gauche, but the Aston very much suited to this circuit here, Nico. And what I'm quite surprised about is that I haven't seen many. There's no Mercedes. You know, there's a couple of wild McLarens showing down at the bottom of the timesheets. But apart from that, it seems to be Lexus, Audi. There's 1 Audi. There's 4 Ferraris, 1 Porsche, 2 McLarens, 3 Lexuses, and the rest are Aston Martins. It looks like an Aston Martin meritocracy at the moment here at Spa.
Yeah, overall, in the last couple of patches, the Aston Martin became quite strong around here. And that, of course, hasn't gone unnoticed with drivers who just... Even with drivers who are just not doing this as seriously, you know? People, of course, notice it when these BOP patches come through, and even, you know, when they don't notice in the not pace notes, in the change logs, when they don't note down what they changed with the BOP or how they modified the cars, and you know, how they just recalculated aerodynamics and all that. It's so many different factors that go into this. Even so, people notice that, of course, from public servers. They notice it from leaks and all that. And now we have an Aston Martin 1, 2, 3, 4, just showing how strong that car can be here, while also being quite a safe bet just in handling. Of course, front engine, rear wheel drive, it's basically one of the simplest, well, most generic things that you can learn how to drive. Meanwhile here, Thomas Schermatert, in another strong bet normally at Spa-Francorchamps, the Ferrari 488 Evo, very, very strong, but a little bit more setup work, simply because you can see it already from the body type. It's a mid-engine car. This rotates a lot faster, and especially the Evo, so in comparison to the non-Evo Ferrari, the 2018 to 2020 difference, the rear axle got made new, and of course a little bit of aerodynamics rebuilt around the car, which actually gave this, of course, a bit more pace, also some new ECU maps, but a lot of people just don't quite find it as homely as the non-Evo Ferrari, and so there's this strong divide at the moment, whether you want to be a bit more safe or you want to go on maximum aggression as you can go here as well on board here with virtual racing teams, Thomas Schameta. And yeah, it's just really interesting to see the different car choices here.
Yeah, so on board with the Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo, now coming out of the second part of Stavlor, and now winding this thing up, cranking the volume up to number 11, in the words of Spinal Tap, as we head our way down towards the fearsome left-hander, as Blanchimont, 250 kph, up to 6th. Throttle is buried, and he went through there at about 256 kilometers an hour. And on the brakes at 264 going into the bus stop chicane. The checkered flag out for the practice session. Just 15 minutes. And the good thing is that at the moment the cloud cover is overhead, but there's no sign of rainfall yet. Track is optimum with 11 degrees Celsius on both ambient air and track temperature with a minimal wind as, well, those two cars, Chamaitat and somebody else went straight on at La Source and brought out the yellow flags. Looks like the 40 of Finch has also done so as well, but looks like they're about to get things underway very shortly with qualifying, Nico. But very interesting to see again. We talked about the Aston Martin meritocracy, top 4 Aston Martin lockout. I think I'm quite expecting the same in quali.
Well, you could say that, but you did see just at the end, as we were on board with Schameta, and of course then saw the end of his lap from the TV cams, only 21 thousandths of a second separating the two. And quite honestly, that is just such a small, tiny difference, simply because you just have to put 1 foot right or 1 foot wrong, and you can have these 21 thousandths just completely eradicated. Either it becomes a huge gap, of course, or you are just, well, another 10th faster than first place. And I think Schameta really wants to prove to these Aston Martin drivers that Ferrari can still put up a fight around here.
Yeah, it's also quite funny when most people actually, when I get the odd occasional message when I mention the 4-litre twin-turbo V8 in the Aston Martin, they go, you realise that's a Mercedes lump in there? Yes, we all know about the Mercedes affiliation with, between Affalterbach and Gaydon, but obviously Aston Martin have put in their own ECU maps. They've given it the Aston Martin racing treatment, so they've breathed their little bit of fairy dust on it, and but it still has that typical Affalterbach roar, if I'm honest with you. But still a very, very capable car. I think maybe we could see a Ferrari go into that top 4, maybe top 5. I'm hoping we don't have a whitewash of the top 2 rows, because in some respects that could be a little bit disappointing, but we know that in qualifying it's times of a show and it's points to go in the race. And you know, this is the first part of the Duo series here on World Pro Racing, so a big thank you for you all for tuning in. If you do want to join us in terms of competing, why not head to our official website, worldproracing.com/events. It will give you all the relevant information. There are spots available for quite a few of the championships and also the one-offs that we're doing at the moment, such as Mega Sprint Tuesdays as well, coming up this time next week as well. Let's see if we can go trackside for qualification, and things are underway. And that's a that's a very, very sparkly looking McLaren 720S there, with that sort of like Yanimais style wrap, very chrome silver there from Thomas Schandl, Sim RC Academy team, running in the in Woking's finest, as they're all pretty much starting to build up speed. Now, Nico, from a driver's perspective, just without giving too much of what you normally do away, how would you say that in general a driver gears up for qualification?
Well, one thing that we see very, very often nowadays is that everyone just stays close together up until the last sector, and they do this very of F1-esque waiting, you know, just waiting to get a little bit of a gap. And quite honestly, that's not what I would do. I would basically just wait that I have a complete nice gap for myself, because of course you would need a bit of slipstream, but normally when a car's in front of you, it just completely throws you off, at least in my experience. So what you really want, what you really want, then you just need a bit of clear track ahead. You need the tires to be on temperature and on pressure, you need the brakes to be on temperature, and well, the fuel tank to be as light as possible, frankly. So, yeah, just try to get out there, push to your heart's content and to the absolute limit of track, car, and body, and hope for the best. That's all you can do.
So we now go to a familiar name here at World Pro Racing, Jan-Niklas Ebrich, in the tried and tested Lexus RCF GT3, 5.4 litre naturally aspirated V8 engine, pushing out 540 brake horsepower and 530 newton meters of torque. Jan-Niklas has been a multi-time GT3 casual race winner, and he puts the first initial benchmark down, 2 minutes 17.091, and Shmaitat goes quicker by just over 2/10 with a 2:16.872 in the Virtual Racing Team 92 Ferrari. Dean Riley from SimSport Solutions has already put in his benchmark, and he's gone 12 thousandths quicker on his first lap, 2 minutes 16.860. So it's an Aston Martin leading a Ferrari versus an Aston Martin and Lexus, another Aston, and then we got Finch in the number 40 McLaren rounding out the top 6, Bussink in the number 42, then it's Dean Veller in the 54, and then that quickly changes courtesy of Mikael Marchega in the 77 Lexus. Simon Wilkes hustling that number 12 SimSport Racing Aston Martin through into Blanchimont on the approach to the braking zone, the heavy braking zone. So they'll go all the way down from 6th gear at over 260 kilometers an hour, all the way down to around about 60 to 70 kph through 1st gear, as Wilkes now will nail the throttle and head towards the line. What's the time going to be? P7. 2 minutes 17.442. Riley's quickest in Sector 2. Ebrich Sector 1. And Jack Noller partnered with Itamar Yativ in the GT Omega RPM Esports 36 Aston, quickest in Sector number 3. But at the moment, rather competitive, Nico, because the top 9 separated by just over 7.5 tenths.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think especially with Dean Riley right now, he's going to want to put out a bit more pace. Keith Barney, he was a lot faster actually still, like compared to his current time. He still has 4 tenths to gain from this. Of course, it's also quite cold track, so normally you would want the track to be around 18 to 28 degrees, I would basically say here. Simply so you can have a consistent heat in the tires. But when they're so cold, when this track is so cold, it's quite difficult to keep the temperature in the tires, and of course then you can't also just have the optimum grip whenever you want. As we can see, Dean Riley here just take all of the track available just as you're supposed to, and now for the first time in the entirety of Sector 3 goes on the brakes, and also the only time basically.
Yep, so times at the top rapidly changing. Riley's now down to 4th position. Is he going to get back to the top spot? Not quite. Shmaitat goes quickest with a 2 minute 16.419. Dean Riley within 72 thousandths. Jack Noller makes it another Aston Martin with a further 9 1,000ths off of Riley. Then it's Clayton Barney. Finch crosses the line and does not improve. Jan-Niklas Ebrich in the 312 DJ Racing Lexus rounds out the top 5. 13 of the 21 cars have set a lap time so far, rounded out by Christopher Lagertsen. Janier in the number 48 Audi goes down the gears and into the bus stop chicane, and now we'll pull the pin on the grenade on the 5.2 litre V10 engine. Goes across the line. That's an improvement, but only up to 11th position. 2 minutes 18.480. Conor McClellan in the M2 competition 37 Aston Martin, about to set his first lap time, goes P6. 2 minutes 17.070. Chris Pinchbeck in the SimSport Racing 43 Aston Martin, yet to set a hot lap here, but now makes his way through No Name after negotiating his way through Rivage. And now the run down to the double left here at Pouhon. Turns in, rotates the car, little bit of excess curb on the inside, allows the momentum to carry through the corner, uses a little bit of curb on the runoff on the right hand side before going down a gear or two through into Les Fagnes. Now we ride on board with the Aston Martin. Into the double right here at Stavelot, into 2nd gear. Start rotating the car up to 3rd. Now rotate it again, let the car drift out left, but not exceed track limits. Now up to 5th gear, pushing over 140 miles an hour and climbing. This is where you earn your keep as a racing driver, going through Blanchimont, 253 kilometers an hour in 6th gear on the apex of Blanchimont. Now brakes all the way down from 6th to 1st gear, 62 kilometers an hour on the apex. So he literally annihilated 200 kilometers an hour on the brakes going into the braking zone. That's how quickly you have to react if you want to nail the bus stop chicane perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on board and just generally in the simulator, you really don't see what kind of G-forces just weigh in on the driver, or just from the outside, unless you do it yourself with a load cell paddle. You don't know how much pressure you actually have to put into the brakes to get the car slowed down this quickly. And it's just absolutely unbelievable, especially when you try it out in virtual reality or in a motion simulator, because that exaggerates the forces, shows you how much force actually is, at least partially, being put on the human body there. So just really impressive stuff. And meanwhile, Conor McLellan improves to 2:16.326. So once again, Aston Martin 1-2.
Yeah, Dean Riley now in 2nd position, 24 thousandths off. Schmeitat in the virtual racing team Ferrari, number 92, 93 thousandths off a provisional pole. We still have just under 9.5 minutes of the session remaining as Michael Machega makes his way through in the Mad Racing 77 Lexus through the second part of the bus stop chicane. Will it be an improvement from P11? Will he get into the top 10? We're about to find out. P8 and puts in a 2 minutes 17.004. That puts him ahead of Bussink in the 42. Thiago Lima in the Phoenix Racing Portugal Simdash 101 Aston, making his way through the first part of Pouhon, now through the second half. And one of the interesting things I've seen here, Nico, is that when you go into Pouhon, you use the curb on the inside of the first left-hander to really get the balance of the car settled, and you don't have to hit the apex, but you have coming through the second half of Pouhon, but you have to carry the momentum through there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the main thing is that you just get a good turn and you get consistent grip for the first bit, but then you also just have to stay sort of inside, because of course you get a bit more momentum with, just generally, if you take a longer way, of course you have a little bit more momentum, the car isn't slowing you down as much, but of course Pouhon is such a long corner that if you just go too wide, you just start losing time again, so you really have to start hitting that sweet spot in the middle.
Yes, very much the case. 8 minutes to go on the session. Dean Riley looking to get ahead of McLellan. We're going to ride on board. Now, this is the driver's perspective going up through Eau Rouge, up to Radillon. And he's only just lifted the slightest amount there and went about 240 kph going through Radillon. The 43, that's Chris Pinchback, just brought out the yellow flags, but that was a return to garage for the SimSport Racing Aston Martin. Down into the braking zone for Lecombe. Through the right, through the left. And you start to accelerate before you head through the right-hander here at Malmedy. Before heading downhill towards Rivage. And again, down from 4th to 2nd gear. Full lock, right hand down. Now start to accelerate. This is where the momentum starts to build here. That's going through No Name before the run down towards Pouhon. And there's a couple of cars just up ahead, one of which has got Bussing behind the wheel of the 42 Porsche. Using a little bit of curb there just to allow the car to steady. No need to touch the apex curb, but run a little bit wide to the right, coming out of Pouhon. Now into the right-hander here at Le Fagne, which then goes into the next left-hander. Someone's kicked up the dust right in front of the peripheral vision of Dean Riley. As we now go into Stavelot. Again, someone's kicked up the dust, this time on the left-hand side of the circuit, as the car to the right gets out of the way. And this looks to be a pretty solid lap so far from Dean Riley. Just under 6.5 minutes of the session remaining on the clock. And Riley now threads the eye of the needle, goes through in towards Blanchimont, 6th gear, 255 kilometers an hour. And now, with that rumbling twin-turbo 4-litre V8, now going down the gears into the bus stop chicane. It's 24 thousandths between first and second in the battle for pole position. Dean Riley on that particular time in 2 minutes 17.541. And sometimes if you don't always get the toe, or you have to avoid traffic that is in front of you, that can compromise your lap time. And I think that's what happened there with Dean Riley there, Nico.
It depends. I think overall, especially as you mentioned, lifts a little bit through Radion there. Then a little bit, I don't know, sloppy, so to say, into the entry of Lecombe. Then a little bit of understeer too much, then a bit of oversteer out of Bristol. And I think that was basically just to try and get the tires warm for the first lap, because of course these tires do not have their peak grip in the first lap out. They have it in their second lap and maybe third and fourth. So I think that was basically just a lap to start getting the tires properly on temperature, properly, so to say, in the mood to go faster, and well, obviously also clear a bit of traffic right ahead of him, because the last thing you want is to have traffic ahead of you and hold you up later on.
So we've got Nolan from TNO Motorsports in the number 18 coming through Blanchimont. So 20 cars, all have set a lap time, and the top 11 covered by just over a second, which is rounded out by Chris Pinchbeck in the number 43. Dean Vella just outside of the top 11 himself by 69 thousandths of a second. As Nolan from Tino Motorsports goes P17, well, stays P17. And there's the familiar colours of GT Omega RPM Esports. Jack Noller behind the wheel in the number 36, partnered with Itamar Yativ, both regulars not just here on World Pro Racing, but also on other regular Assetto Corsa Competizione platforms, such as the SimGrid, where Jack Noller and Sheldon Muscat were partnered up for Season 3 of the Sprint Cup, quite recently, which had its season finale last Thursday night at Suzuka. And Jack Noller looking to stride his way, hopefully, into the top 3, and that would be a good run for GT Omega RPM Esports. He comes out of the bus stop chicane. Noller punches the throttle down to the floor. What's the time going to be? Oh, he gets close. Oh, top 4 covered by a 1/10 of a second, with just 3 minutes and 20 still to go on the clock here in quali.
Yeah, it's getting quite close indeed. Only 9 thousandths of a second. But I think Shamated also still wants to know a bit more of his car. He wants to get a bit of a better lap time still. And at the moment we've got, sadly, the wrong Ferrari on in the picture. Nolan, of course, trying his best there to get faster as well. At the moment, 2.5 seconds off pace. And, you know, I think that is the tricky thing with a Ferrari, of course. Getting it to a comfortable handling point at that same race pace, qualifying pace, as the front is running, is very, very difficult, as we've just seen Shamated also improve a little bit further, now only 0.072 seconds away from pole position. But yeah, if you like the Ferrari, and if you like mid-engine cars and turbo, you know, if you're not going for the Honda, then normally the Ferrari is a quite good weapon of choice.
Yeah, weapon of choice. A song made famous, well, a very line made famous by a particular song by Fatboy Slim in the early 2000s. Showing a bit of my musical knowledge there. But Nolan from TNO Motorsports, as we get back on track here at Spa, still remains in the top 19, but actually sets a personal best in the number 19 Ferrari. Here's Thiago Lima from Portugal in the 101, Phoenix Racing Portugal Simdash car. Top 8 covered by just half a second, and it's gotten even closer this time between the top 13, rounded out by Dean Vella in the number 54 Lexus. Just under 1.1 seconds separates the top 13 as we head into the last 90 seconds of qualification. Thiago Lima now going through in towards, well, looks like it's probably a double waved yellow, so he might have to back out of it. No, that has been avoided because Simon Wilkes, the number 12, has done the old return to garage. And Shemaitat has gone quicker still and is 72 thousandths off as there's been a yellow flag out. This is for Yo-Yo and the number 48 Audi, and that was on the Camel Straight. We've had another yellow flag courtesy of Jack Noller, who's also hit the escape button, and it looks like Thiago Lima. Oh, now this has gotten really close. Thiago Lima there, Nico. 42 thousandths off of pole position and rounds out the top three. Top five rounded out by Jack Noller, covered by just a hair over a tenth of a second, as we have Mikael Merchega looking to get a bit further up from ninth position in the next 30 seconds, the final 30 seconds of this qualifying session.
And I think since we have Barney still on a run, it could be quite interesting here. And, well, the Ferrari Challenger and Shemaitat and Noller have already parked their cars for qualifying. Obviously, with 15 seconds left, they won't be able to go out again and do another lap. However, let me see where he is on the track. 29 just going down the way from La Source. So Clayton Barney may be in for another good lap time and may actually turn this dreaded idea that you had just before qualifying started, of the first two rows being completely Aston Martin. He may turn this into a reality if he can find some of his form from earlier.
Yep, so it struck zero on the timer. Checkered flag is out. McClellan, provisionally at the moment, is on pole position. Merchega goes ninth. Dean Riley, though, this is his last-ditch chance to get through and get to the pole position. Tori in the number 9 Ferrari will start down in 14th position as we wait with bated breath. Ligretson 19th. As Dean Riley from SimSport Solutions Racing Rouge comes towards the checkered flag. Not enough on that particular occasion. It was a tenth off of his best effort. You mentioned Clayton Barney there, Nico. He's now making his way through into Le Fagne and now exiting and heading towards Stavlo. As there was a brief yellow out. Bussink will start in the number 42 Porsche, rounding out the top 10, covered by just over 8 tenths of a second. And Pye in the number 100. That's Dan Pye, who's partnered with Stuart Ladd. They'll start from 21st. But Clayton Barney trying to push the car to its absolute limit of adhesion through Blanchimont. Neatly negotiates it hard onto the brakes, down the gears, into first. Negotiates the first part of the bus stop chicane through the second part. And now heads towards the finish line and goes P6 on that particular occasion. Well, that was an interesting session. Very interesting session indeed. Your thoughts on that one, Nico?
Clayton Barney in the end 2/10 improvement, just barely not enough to move up another spot, but either way, very good run from him. And, well, the front runners, Aston Martin, Ferrari, they're all turbo engine cars, so I think at the start, of course, the Lexus a little bit of a dark horse, the Audi a little bit of a dark horse in this competition as it stands. However, at the start they can still do quite a lot of changes simply because at 70 kilometers an hour, these cars will absolutely shine with the power response that they have on the rolling starts. So I think we're going to be able to look forward to a very interesting battle at the start here.
Yep, the rolling start will actually be heading from La Source down to Eau Rouge. It's not the traditional start coming out of the bus stop chicane. I found that out when commentating on another league, when the lead commentator decided, oh yeah, it's going to be the bus stop chicane, got all excited, and it was my turn to take over. So I knew that from first hand. So it is not the traditional Formula 1 layout, 7.004 kilometers. The current variation has been used since 2007. But we mentioned about two things here, Nico, is about precision and also consistency. The precision comes in track cuts, but also if you get hit with the drive-through penalty for any any possibility of a multiple track limits infringements, or even the worst one, which is speeding in the pit lane and getting a stop go 30. That's even more excruciating, isn't it, here at Spa?
Well, quite honestly, with a 90-minute time length for the race, that's essentially a death sentence, to put it bluntly. You're going to be very far behind, and even if you have an Aston Martin that runs 2:15.5 in qualifying trim, then you're not going to be able to catch that back up.
Yeah, I very much agree with that one. So a big thank you for you all for watching. Don't forget to follow us on all the relevant social medias. If you are watching this on the official World Pro Racing YouTube channel, why not give this video a like, hit the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell. So with that, firstly, helps us here at World Pro Racing, as always, in terms of your continued commitment to watching what we do here at World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real. A big thank you, as always, to our partners. Let's see if we might be able to go trackside, because we've got 21 cars that are waiting to go racing for 90 minutes, and that includes a rather intrinsic driver swap. So there we have your grid, and we are going to be starting things off rather interestingly here. Looks like we're going to do a full formation lap, I would believe. Now, the track temperature has risen to 13 degrees. So we'll run you through the grid, and starting on pole position, it will be Connor McClellan in the number 37. Dean Riley in the 22 will make it an all Aston Martin front row. Thiago Lima in the 101 will have Thomas Schemeitat alongside in the 92 Ferrari. Jack Noller in the number 36 Aston Martin will have alongside him Reese Spence Robb in the number 29, who's partnered with Clayton Barney. Jan-Niklas Ebrich will be the highest placed Lexus in the 312, and along with him will be Simon Wilkes in the number 12 Aston Martin. Mikael Machega brings a Lexus to row number 5, and completing said row will be Elko Bussink in the number 42 Porsche. Then we've got TJ Finch and Chris Pinchbeck, that's row 6. Dean Vella, who is in the number 54 Lexus, will be on row number 7 and will be accompanied by Fabrizio Tori. Then we've got Yayo in the number 48 Audi, and Linga Thompson in the 13 Aston Martin. Shandel in the 176 McLaren. Temej in the 95 Ferrari. Then rounding out the grid, it's well, we've got the surname that well, it's Nolan LMKP, Christopher Lagertson, and then Dan Pye, rounding out the 21 strong grid. So the format will be, it's a 90-minute race, and the pit stop window will open for 10 minutes only. At 50 minutes remaining on the clock, it will then close exactly 10 minutes later. And if a driver is unable to do a driver swap, or someone has to end up running solo, they will have the mandatory 130-second time penalty post-race as per the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform. Don't forget, we do run championships and special events on PC and PS4, and that's from amateurs to professionals. And Nico, this is where things really get serious, because the drivers now are putting in those mind games.
Oh, absolutely, and I think it starts even now, simply because people have this entire long formation lap to just think now, what will I do as soon as the green flag starts? Well, as soon as it drops, and the entire time, you know, they're driving all quite calm and collected overall. No one's really weaving, no one's trying to get temperature in the tires, and I don't know if it's maybe a show of confidence, or actually we see here now from Dean Riley and the couple cars behind, but Conor McClellan not twitching in any way whatsoever. So maybe a bit of a show of confidence, maybe just saying, well, I know how my car interacts, and you guys will see in a minute anyway. But yeah, the mind games have already started, and especially I think in qualifying, just being able to set that pace And just seeing that pace from the Aston Martins, I think, especially for Jan-Niklas Erbrich and Thomas Schemeitat, in the respective strongest cars that aren't an Aston Martin, I think those guys are going to be a bit, in German you say unter Strom, so, under a lot of energy, under electricity, so you can barely just keep your feet still. You're going to be absolutely on edge. And, now just waiting as we're already too wide and just going through the chicane, then through La Source, and then, of course, waiting at around 70 kilometers an hour just to get that green flag.
Yes, indeed. I think the term in English there, Nico, probably that would be relative to that would be highly charged or filled with adrenaline would be the two phrases that I would look at from that one. So, the waiting is almost over for the first ever running of the Duo Series here on World Pro Racing. 90 minutes here at the iconic Spa-Francorchamps. So it's Conor McClellan and Dean Riley that will bring the field round La Source. 13 degrees track temperature. It's cloudy overhead. The track is at optimum. We head through La Source. 90 minutes on the clock. We wait with bated breath because when the green flag flies, we will be off and racing. And it's a very, very long wait. It's very much waiting for the Total 24 Hours of Spa. Are we ready? Are we steady? Let's go green. And it's a good start from McClellan. Riley trying to get the jump, but Thiago Lima trying to go side by side with Riley, going up the hill through into Radion, and Lima's almost got the job done as down the Kemmel Straight they go. It's side by side for second position. McClellan's got the run and he's gotten away. Thiago Lima's got the inside line as Schemeitat battling away with Jack Noller. And Riley has lost out to Lima going into Les Combes as Schemeitat trying to go up the inside of Jack Noller, going through the first part of Les Combes, but the Aston Martin from GT Omega RPM Esports sends it round the outside, and here comes Clay Barney. Oh, the tank slapper for Schemeitat. That drops in positions, and that means going down into Rivage. He loses out to Barney and Jan-Niklas Erbrich. Chris Pinchbeck in the mid-pack and is trying to make some moves forward, but already McClellan has got a lead of just over 2.5 tenths of a second over Thiago Lima as they go through into Pouhon for the first time. Everyone has made it cleanly through so far, but Thiago Lima got the jump on Dean Riley going through into Eau Rouge and then into Radion, whereas Schemeitat came a bit of a cropper as Dean Vella going side by side with one of the Aston Martins. Looks like Lingo Thompson, as looks like Finch has gotten a bit further up ahead, as has Chris Pinchbeck. Or as you can just see them going through into Stavelot. There's Dean Vella. And Lingo Thompson looks to be behind Jan Yeo, has dropped down into 15th position. As some cars going very, very wide. As the leaders now making their way through into Blanchimont. McClellan's got a lead of just over half a second on Thiago Lima, as Elko Bussing from Rookie Monsters being chased down by the Aston Martin of SimSport Racing's Chris Pinchbeck, as McClellan coming under fire from Lima, going out of the bus stop chicane. 1 lap in the books. We've still got an hour, 27 minutes and 53 seconds still to go, but Thiago Lima is gunning for Conor McClellan.
Well, and what a start it was. Everything played out perfectly for the Aston Martins up ahead, and you can see top 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Aston Martins, all the 8s, just roaring down that stretch. And there's contact, because between 2 Ferraris there, I think those were Tori and Tomesh, and Tomesh actually, after that contact, pulls the shorter straw.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure that will probably be looked at by our race directors and steward Adrian Figalo and George Muscat, as Conor McClellan coming under fire once again, this time through Les Combes, courtesy of Thiago Lima. We go on board with the number 101, the Portuguese driver, trying to go toe-to-toe with the Irish driver up ahead. Into Rivage, down to first gear, tight on the apex. Now buries the throttle, up to second. Through to third, rotates the car, slight downshift again, through into second before putting on the power. And these gear shifts rather aggressive in these GT3 machines. But one of the good things here, Nico, is Conor McClellan is being kept rather honest by Thiago Lima. And I think one of the things that Dean Riley's doing is he's looking at the bigger picture. He's not going absolutely for it and trying to chase down Lima and McClellan, because if those two start battling, he's got the ringside seat. And as they say, when people start battling, elbows do get shoved out a little bit, don't they?
Yeah, it's quite difficult, of course, to just always be on top of their game. So I think, while some of them are challenging each other, because, of course, at the start, all cars are closer together, so it's the easiest to make moves there, and then try to go on the defensive, especially in the cars that aren't Aston Martins here. That's a wise thing to do. As we have here on board from Michael Mejia, the camera just above that huge rear wing of the Lexus, and there we are. Simon Wilkes almost able to just pull alongside after Blanchimont, but a bit too much understeer. So really, really interesting now how to see how the different tactics will play out in between these drivers.
Yep, and that will play out over the next hour, 25 minutes and 30 seconds. Simon Wilkes closing on Michael Mejia as Chris Pinchbeck is battling away on going through into La Source, and he's ahead of TJ Finch. Those two were about a tenth and a half between them as the battle for the lead still rages on. Thiago Lima goes nearly all the way off track going through Hanion, but look at the draft he's got on Conor McClellan. He pulls out to the left hand side going into Lecon. McClellan will have the inside run. Will he or will he not be able to late brake and keep ahead of Lima? The pair go side by side into Lecon, and McClellan off track. Lima has to brake to avoid, and that nearly allowed Dean Riley to either do one or two things: close up or nearly be in the back bumper of Lima on that particular occasion. And it's all kicking off, going down the hill, out of Lecom and into Rivage, as Pinchbeck was closing on Bussink. Now the Porsche is the heaviest car on this grid, 1,340 kilos. The Aston Martin is nearly 100 kilos lighter, make that 95 kilos. So in terms of power to weight ratio, the Aston Martin clearly has an advantage over the Porsche. The Porsche doesn't have as much torque, and it is naturally aspirated, but track temperature has started to improve. And over the next 15 minutes, there is still cloud cover overhead. Server time showing at 9:28 a.m. No wind pickup, but the track is increasing in temperature, so that could only mean good things for those drivers. As Linga Thompson closing on Dean Vella for 13th position. Vella trying to hold on in the number 54 GT Omega RPM Esports Lexus, and that's the battle for 13th position.
Just really interesting to see the field still so close together, honestly. And, well, as you said just now, McClellan and Lima side by side into Lecombe. That really, really difficult situation there, because, of course, technically McClellan cut the track, actually, and, well, so to say, gained an advantage, actually, because he was able to stay ahead so in that situation. So maybe that's also something that the stewards will have to have a look at.
Yep, Jack Noller has kept ahead of Clayton Barney, and that is the battle for 4th position. Oh, don't tell me they're going to go side by side. Oh, Jack Noller just threads the eye of the needle and gets ahead of Clayton Barney before Eau Rouge, and then into Radiant. You can see now that Thiago Lima... Oh, Jack Noller goes all 4 wheels off on the right-hand side, so that'll be a track cut for him. Luckily enough, with regards to track cuts, nothing for the race direction to worry about, because that's controlled by the software. If it's 3 track cuts, you get a 4th one. That's an instant drive-through penalty. As Chris Pinchbeck battling away with TJ Finch going into Lecombe. The Aston Martin's got the advantage at the minute. Going through Lecombe, through the next part of it. TJ Finch had the inside line, but then setting it up for the next corner at Malmedy and Rivage as Dean Riley. Oh, but a touching between Clayton Barney and Jack Noller, and Barney goes very, very sideways, and that opens the window of opportunity for Germany's Jan-Niklas Ebrich, who gets past in the 312 DJ Racing Lexus. Oh, we've got a fight on our hands here in the Ardennes Forest.
Well, and that is exactly what Jan-Niklas Ebrich was waiting for. He knows what he has to do. Can't necessarily match the Aston Martin purely on race pace, but by God, when these guys are fighting up in front, he can wait for them to just mess each other up in some way, and then of course it's all up for grabs. And meanwhile we had a change for the lead because Thiago Lima got past Conor McClellan.
Yep, and now trying to stretch away that gap, but it's one thing to be the hunter, it's another thing altogether to be the hunted. And now Conor McClellan has got to keep Thiago Lima very, very honest indeed. And we have just over 31 minutes to go before the pit stop window is officially opened here on the Duo Series race at Spa-Francorchamps with Alex Goldschmidt and Nico Hilbrandt, your commentators. Don't forget, plenty more to come in the coming weeks and months here on World Pro Racing. Don't forget, you can head to our official website, worldproracing.com/events, for further information, where we run on PlayStation 4 with Gran Turismo Sport, and also the PC with platforms such as Assetto Corsa Competizione and R-Factor 2. But on lap number 5, Thiago Lima now leads in the 101. It is a top 4 for Aston Martin, because you've then got the 37 of Conor McClellan, the 22 of Dean Riley, with Jack Noller in the 36, running at a top 4 for Gaydon's Finest, and then the might of Japan in the form of the Lexus 312 of Jan-Niklas Ebrich, rounding out the top 5. Now this is a replay of what happened earlier on. This is how Thiago Lima took the lead off of Conor McClellan, right up the inside of Lecombe, and gets a little bit of an assist there from behind. That was cheeky from McClellan, and that nearly opened the door for Dean Riley to get through, going through the second part of Lecombe. But McClellan, very wise to it, shut the door, and he was effectively the Aston Martin meat in the sandwich after Dean Riley tried to get past him, as Thomas Schandl is battling away, and that is with Christopher Lagertson, I believe, in the 666. That's going through Rivage, then into the left-hander at No Name, and Schandl will get the opportunity to go through No Name and gets past in that very, very bright chrome silver McLaren. Very reminiscent of when Jenson Button and Kevin Magnussen ran together at the Woking Base squad. But Chris Pinchbeck hasn't been able to close up to Mikael Machega and Elko Bussink for 9th and 10th, as TJ Finch still looking up the inside of the Aston Martin. Pinchbeck is sort of like wondering, what do I need to do to get away from TJ Finch from Blue Flag Racing and then catch the two in front? That's what I want to know.
Now, of course, it's always quite difficult to, especially in these battling situations. You can be faster by yourself, and of course the McLaren is also not a very easy car all the time to keep on the road. But if you can just bridge that problem that the McLaren generally has, which is not the most power, by just staying in the slipstream of the Aston Martin, and then in the middle sector he has a bit more downforce, can keep up there, and then just keep harassing Pinchbeck. That of course is a problem that Pinchbeck somehow has to overcome, maybe by getting some more slipstream of his own from Bussink up ahead.
Yep, and that toe here, it's especially down the Kemmel Straight, is rather important. It can get you quite a lot of time, maybe up to the best part of nearly half a second. As now, that's what Clayton Barney's going to get, courtesy of Jan-Niklas Ebrich, and then Schmeitat could get a double toe in the Ferrari. As we head down the Kemmel Straight, track temperature now starting to increase, and what's more, the sunshine is starting to appear. So over the next 15 minutes, things are looking a bit more brighter than they have been through qualifying and through the first part of this race, as Dean Vella battling away with Stefan Linger-Thompson from Team Panda Racing. Down the hill towards Rivage, the number 13 Aston Martin looks up the inside of the 54 Lexus. No dice there, I'm afraid. But still, looking at the gaps, there is no gap that I see here, Nico, between anywhere in the top 15 that exceeds 3.5 seconds at any point at all. It's been epically close so far in the first, 13 minutes of the race.
Yeah, absolutely, and you just love to see it, don't you? You have racing all the way down through the field, and, as we say all the time, World Pro Racing is not just for people who have, spent ages, thousands of hours in the simulator, but also for newcomers. And I think this split is basically quite visible in between 15th and 16th place. 16th, and a bit further down, they're probably a little bit newer to this world of sim racing, and very nice to see, of course. And then, of course, the lead battle. We have quite a few guys who are, of course, more well-versed in how to build a setup that can run these 216s with ease in qualifying. And now, actually, a three-way battle here. All three Aston Martins, 4P2, and Jan-Niklas Erbrich right behind that. In anticipation, of course. He's already hungry for more positions if someone messes up here.
Well, Dean Riley looking to go up the inside of Conor McClellan. Jack Noller waiting in the wings to see what happens. And now we go down the hill from La Source into Eau Rouge before the steep climb up to Radiant. Riley backs out of it. Good call there from the SimSport Solutions driver there. But here is Jan-Niklas Erbrich in that Lexus. He's looking to break that meritocracy hold, courtesy of Aston Martin, as now Riley looks to one way. Oh, look at that diagonal formation from the two Aston Martins and the Lexus. Noller trying to go around the outside of Riley, going through the first part of Licom, and it nearly comes to paint swapping between the pair of them. But out of that, Dean Riley gets back the advantage, and that has allowed Conor McClellan to get away and now start chasing down Thiago Lima. Clayton Barney's joined this battle. Keep your eyes for Thomas Schmeitat just behind, and then also Simon Wilkes has closed up as well. And this is going to get rather feisty rather quickly. 1 hour and 15 minutes on the clock. We've got 25 minutes to go until the pit stop window opens for just 10 minutes here at Spa, for the first running of the Giro Series here, live and uninterrupted on World Pro Racing. And it has been epically charged so far, as Jan-Niklas Erbrich and Thomas Schmeitat making it two other manufacturers represented, so Lexus and Ferrari finding a bit of worth in amongst these this septet of Aston Martins, the sextet that actually complete the top 8 as they fly their way through into Blanchimont, and hard on the brakes into the bus stop chicane. First of all, we'll go Thiago Lima, and now you can see a little bit of a gap emerging as Schmeitat trying to send it from another postcode up the inside of Clayton Barney, but Simon Wilkes was quick to respond there too. Epic battles here, Nico. And I think, now we've had a yellow flag come out, and that is for Dean Vella, unfortunately, in the number 54. So that car might have sustained some damage, but Mikael Marchega battling away with Elko Bussink as TJ Fincher's got past Chris Pinchbeck for 12th position.
Yeah, and, well, Marchega, and he's actually got, I think we've got a traditional Gran Turismo Sport lineup on this car, because if I recall correctly, let me have a very quick look here. Yeah, we got Dario Mancian also on this car.
I was just about to say the same thing myself there.
Yeah, the 77 with GT Sport, veterans there. And funnily enough, one of my first gigs for World Pro Racing was commentating on those two drivers during this Spa-only championship, where both of them drove actually, these renegade cars that were actually not that popular around here at the time. So yeah, very interesting to see these two guys team up together. Another simulator, same track, but still able to compete and do a lot of good wheel-to-wheel battles.
Right, okay. We've had a first penalty issued by Adrian Figalo. Now, this is the reason why. Let's have a look at this incident. This will be Lingo Thompson versus Dean Vella. And this is coming out. Oh, that's going through Blanchimont! Oh, no! And that's at over 250 kilometres an hour. That one's definitely going to be looked at by race control. Oh, my goodness. Clean up on the new Nomex for Dean Vella there. That was absolutely harrowing. And that was the slightest of touch. And when you're doing 260 in sixth gear, going through Blanchimont, Nico, to see the car literally swap ends is not exactly what you want to see, especially when you're battling for position.
Absolutely not. And I will be honest, I thought already it was probably due to contact when we saw the yellow flag being called out, simply because the Lexus with its extremely long wheelbase, normally a very, very safe car around the entirety of the lap, and to see a yellow flag for that at that time, at that place on the track, a little bit weird, but of course, well, stuff like this can happen, and it's of course quite tricky to overtake there. But yeah, I think Schandl took a little bit. Actually, I think it was Linga Thompson who it was a bit too much risk trying to make a move into that. But yeah, either way, very, very close indeed. And well, the biggest luck of all, I think, for Dean Vella here was that Assetto Corsa Competizione doesn't simulate tire walls being deformed and stuff, because otherwise that car would have been completely blown to smithereens with that hit.
Yeah, and also we would have had a red flag stoppage as well whilst everything got repaired. There has been a penalty issued, and that is for Thomas Schandl in the 176 on car number 18, which had been Nolan LMKP, for contact between the pair. It's actually a dive bomb from the 176 of Schandl, so he gets a 5-second penalty before the car gets, well, before the car can be worked on in the pit lane, and then the driver change can be effected. So we have just over an hour and 10 minutes still to go. Right, another penalty coming through, and well, the number 18 gets a drive-through penalty for an aggressive dive bomb and causing an avoidable collision, and that would have been on the number 9 of Fabrizio Torri. So LMK, yeah, it would be the Nolan LMKP car and the 18 Ferrari that will get a drive-through, and we'll have to serve that in 3 laps. Conor McClellan was being chased there by Dean Riley. Jack Noller not too far out of this either. You can never count out Jan-Niklas Ebrich, whatever you do here on World Pro Racing, as it's getting rather feisty once again, as deep into the braking zone goes Dean Riley on Conor McClellan. The good thing is here, Nico, is that Riley and Noller can use the car in front as a yardstick, as a measurement on where they need to brake, and when they know that they've got it pretty much sorted, they can go for the attack, because that is what is going to look to happen. Because you can see these cars, 3 Aston Martins, Linus Stern going down into Eau Rouge and Michael Machega, now having to fight a 4-way scrap for 9th position with Bussing, because the 2nd to 4th go through Hadion, as Riley very close to the limits of the track there. But Jack Noller looking towards the outside. Oh, that's a great opportunistic move by Jack Noller, just literally sweeping around the outside, gets the job done before they even hit the first part of Lecombe. But Dean Riley having absolutely none of it, wants to get that position back quickly.
Yeah, but of course, when you have that much of a run, and then, well, in Jack Noller's fortunate case there, also a bit of slipstream from McClellan, you just don't really lose that momentum altogether. So he could just keep on driving, keep the throttle pinned, and then just normally slow on the brakes. And that was very, very close. I think that was Finch barely staying ahead of Pinchbeck. So, yeah, very well done from him. Very late on the brakes, but kept it beautifully pinned and perfectly on the racing line. So now the hope for Jan-Niklas Ebrich is, of course, that these guys keep fighting amongst themselves. And they absolutely are, as we can see.
Yep, so the battle for the 3rd, 4th and 5th on your screens right now. We're riding on the rear roof cam with Jack Noller from GT Omega RPM Esports at the pit stop phase, which will open in just 17.5 minutes time. Is partnered with Itamar Yativ, who who's had the podium before here at World Pro Racing in casual races, as Thomas Temej battling away. That is Fabrizio Torri, who's just swept up the inside as Temej runs a little bit wide through the first part of Pouhon. Now into the right-hander here at Le Fagnes as TJ Finch and Chris Pinchbeck still battling away like 2 petulant children, battling over the final available swing in the playground, going through into the bus stop chicane, as Bussing and Machega still battling away over P9. Not over yet by a long sight, and we still have just shy of 67 minutes to go. Machega goes to the right to defend against Bussink. who looks to the outside, going into the approach into La Source, trying to look at the cutback. Oh, Shmaitat has had a massive wobble and has dropped outside what is now going to be the top 10. Because they go across into, well, they go down the hill from La Source into Aurouge-Radion. So Shmaitat will now find himself out of the top 10. And what's more, Chris Pinchbeck is right on his 6, going through into the Camel Straight, heading down towards Les Combes. But Shmaitat has had a massive drama that is not only going to compromise him, as Chris Pinchbeck sends it up the inside of the Ferrari. I wonder if there's any damage on that 488, because Tim Ruhl is partnered with Thomas Shmaitat in that number 92 Ferrari. Well, that has really changed things for the 92 Ferrari crew, because they're going to have to start fighting back. But also, one of the other things here, Nico, is that the pit stop strategy they have. So effectively, if we're running in the 217s or something like that, give them 2 or 3 laps, then they'll have to pit that car. Some might decide to pit early, some might decide to pit maybe after 2 to 3 laps, but there might be some that might stretch that window of opportunity and do. I would probably say you're probably looking at no more than 4 laps in that pit stop window to absolutely try and do the massive undercut on everybody in front of you.
Well, it really depends on if you're in a bigger battle group or you want to gain positions from a bigger battle group. There we see what happened to Thomas Shmaitat actually quickly. Let's have a look. And
no contact. He just lost it on his own. Clipped the curb on the inside of La Source, and if I was Shmaitat, the thing is that was not The good thing was the cars behind that were coming through the source had a good foresight in order to get to the left-hand side of the car. But still, if that was me, I'd probably be wanting to say, well, hang on, you didn't hold onto the brakes there. You should have waited. But that would have compromised Shmaitat even more. So I can understand it from a driver's perspective, but from an official's perspective, I'm looking at both sides of the coin. But that's really cost him, because now Pinchbeck's now in the top 10. As we see this ding-dong battle here, once again, between the likes of Riley. And that Lexus from Jan-Niklas Ebrich is absolutely fired up. And Jan-Niklas Ebrich partnering up this time. Let me just have a look and see. He's partnered with David Ohak. And here goes Ebrich. Round the outside of Les Combes. Jan-Niklas Ebrich goes all 4 wheels off. He's going to have to give that position back to Dean Riley, because that was advantage
actually does it as well, though.
Yeah, but he did that rather rapidly, so that will be looked at favourably. It's the unwritten rule, isn't it? It's sort of like a driver's etiquette, that if you go off track and you've gained that advantage on track position and you take the position, the first thing you do is give it back, and that just shows respect and consideration for your fellow competitors. But yeah, I think there's still a lot to play, with an hour and 3 minutes still to go, because we've got 13 minutes until the pit stop window opens. Thomas Schandl will have to serve a 5-second penalty before handing over that car a little bit later on in the pit stop window, and that is the 176, and he'll be handing over to Paul Kleinhoing in that McLaren. But Michael Machega still doing a really good run at the moment, and just looking at it so far, Nico, it's been now, Thiago Lima has got a 3.7 second advantage over Conor McClellan. Jack Nolan now rounds out the top 3, having started in 5th position, but the person that has really lost out big time is Thomas Shmaitat, who started in 4th and now finds himself out of sight of the top 11, now P10.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in qualifying he looked like the man who could challenge the top 5 Aston Martins the best. And, the race has developed into an absolute nightmare for him. Not just from the start, and not quite able to get the momentum done, not just able to overtake someone on the Camel Straight, but also losing the momentum through turn 9, through the exit of Les Combes, and then dropping behind the Lexus of Jan-Niklas Ebrich. And ever since then, it's just gone all the way downhill. But of course, we're not even at the halfway point yet. we still have the pit stops to go, and we will have to see then what these drivers' partners will also do, how they will drive their respective cars, and if they can maybe gain some more time or lose, because that is the important thing. This race is not just won by one driver. So Thiago Lima, I think, maybe if his teammate is a little bit slow, Thiago Lima is just going, well, I'm in clean air right now, I'll try to go as long as possible, hit in the last minute, and just stay clean, keep my nose clean, and just finish my stint. And then my teammate can have a bit of a more relaxed run. And I think these are all the different strategies that will play into the role when the pit stop window opens as well.
Yes, indeed. Thiago Lima, partnered by Miguel Neto in this 101 Phoenix Racing Portugal Sim-Aston Martin. Now, one of the more nicer things to see at Spa-Francorchamps as we hit just under half an hour of this race completed. The sunshine is coming to the Ardennes here at Spa-Francorchamps. Track temperature now 16 degrees Celsius. The wind has slightly picked up, and we have just a shade over 10.5 minutes until the pit stop window opens for 10 minutes alone, and will close with 40 minutes to go. Some drivers may decide to go that little bit longer to maximise the opportunity in terms of if they decide to put a new fresh set of tyres on, and also they'll need to put less fuel in the car to ensure quicker lap times, as Bussink now being closed in on in the braking zone through to the bus stop chicane. 30 minutes down, 60 to go. 1 hour remaining here in the Giro Series first ever event here at World Pro Racing. And what has transpired and showcased itself onto the fronts of our screens right now is the battle for 8th position. It is Lexus versus Porsche versus Aston Martin versus the prancing horse of Ferrari. So Machega, Bussink, Pinchbeck and Schmeitat. Through Eau Rouge and up into Hadion. All very wide there from Bussink. Coming out of Hadion, the back end stepped out and put the Porsche to the right-hand side of the circuit, going onto the Kemmel Straight. And now the Porsche getting a bit of a tow from the Lexus as the Ferrari gets a tow from the Aston Martin. Oh, Bussink absolutely does a Matthias Ekstrom going across the first part of Les Combes, and now loses out. It was always going to be a bone of contention, but Bussink went all four wheels off the track, did a Matthias Ekstrom on the right-hand side of the Kemmel Straight going into Les Combes. And that really did not help him at all, because that now means that Chris Pinchbeck has gained another position, and he will be handing over to Kieran Vidago in the SimSport Racing number 43 Aston Martin, which now finds itself up from 12th position into 9th with 58.5 minutes on the clock to go. Schmeitat looking to bring that Ferrari back up into the top 10. As, it's getting a bit fisty-cufty there between Merchega and Bussink. Touching between Bussink and Pinchbeck. And Schmeitat gets the biggest, thank you very much, window of opportunity I've ever seen here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. I think Bussink was a bit too robust there and decided to rub panels with Chris Pinchbeck, who I know will be having that red mist a little bit more accelerated behind the wheel of that Simrig of his, but he is fired up and trying to chase down Thomas Schmeitat, who literally had dropped all the way out of what was 6th position a bit earlier on, dropped outside of the top 10, now finds himself into 9th place. But the Ferrari and the Aston Martin pretty equally measured in terms of torque displacement and production on their respective twin-turbo V8 engines as they cross the line. 57.5 minutes still to go. Thiago Lima leads from Conor McClellan by 4.5 seconds. Jack Noller rounds out the top 3, followed by Dean Riley, Jan-Niklas Ebrich. Schmeitat goes wide, coming out of La Source by all four wheels as they head down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Clayton Barney, Simon Wilkes, Mikael Machega, Thomas Schmeitat, Chris Pinchbeck, as TJ Finch gets passed by Thomas Schandl. So McLaren on McLaren, we go on board with the Blue Flag Racing McLaren, the number 40, down the hill in the 720 SGT3. The Torque Monster is more commonly known through certain racers that use Assetto Corsa Competizione. Up the gears. 6th gear. 258 kilometers an hour and climbing. And now he's going to power around towards the outside of Chandel going into Lecombe. Who's going to get to the braking zone first? Well, it looks like Finch has got the inside run. Perfectly timed it. Going through Lecombe, but now Chandel back on the counter-offensive through Malmedy. But TJ Finch says, thou shalt not pass, and sends it round the outside of Malmedy. That was brazen from the number 40. Real good pickup there by our broadcast team back at World Pro Racing headquarters in Malta, as Mikael Merchega still coming under fire from the 92 Ferrari of Thomas Schmeitat. 56 minutes on the clock to go. Still plenty of action to unfold before our very eyes here on World Pro Racing.
Absolutely, and now we can see one of the, well, more esteemed veterans in Assetto Corsa Competizione fight against one of the guys who's a bit newer, but we also have this classic fight of naturally aspirated and front engine versus mid engine versus twin turbo. So, very nice fight that we have currently here, especially because Mikael Merchega has already shown quite in a few races how fast he can go if he's comfortable with the car. And we actually get news of a 10-second penalty there. That's 18 on 666. That's a 10-second penalty. So LKMP gets another penalty after his drive-through penalty that he got earlier on in the race. And now TJ Finch once again fighting with Chandel. Chandel misjudges the braking and actually goes all the way deep into the tarmac runoff. Seems like a silly mistake, but then again, pros like Mark Webber have also done it in LMP1 machinery around here.
Yeah, especially when that was in a Porsche 919 hybrid as well. I remember that one.
Yeah.
But
I was there live on that one.
Well, exactly. Yeah, very, very true there. As Conor McClellan battling away with Jack Noller and Dean Riley. Battle for second position. Still very much on as we are fast approaching the official pit stop window. 10 minutes, which will mean that the drivers will look to strategize in terms of their optimum, in terms of either an overcut or an undercut, as Conor McClellan finding his way down towards Bouillon. We head back to Mikael Merchega, who has Thomas Schmeitat and Chris Pinchbeck closing in. That's going through Rivage, and that's the battle from 8th, 9th to 10th position, and they have dropped Bussink to the tune of nearly 2 seconds. So we are fast coming towards the halfway point of this race. Don't forget, you can go to all our relevant social medias at on Facebook, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at World Pro Racing. And if you haven't forgotten to do so already, if you haven't remembered to do so already, why haven't you done so? Hit the like button if you're enjoying this video, hit the subscribe button, and also hit the notification whenever you get a chance.
Once again, though, battle here for 8th place. Mikael Merchega still holding on very well, but at the same time, I can't help but notice Pinchbeck did manage to close up, so maybe Merchega is just busy trying to defend from the charging Ferrari behind him, and also that slows both of them down a little bit, which allows Pinchbeck in the Aston Martin to slowly creep up on them again. And, well, I know how strong the Aston Martin is on the brakes around here. And speaking of strong on the brakes, Schmeitat on the outside for the first bit of the chicane, but can't quite make it stick. Whew, what a battle.
Yep, we've still got plenty of battling to go here. And heading towards La Source, you can see how quickly Pinchbeck is closing in on the braking zone, as is Schmeitat, as now they come out of La Source. And if they're not careful, Bussink could close in on them. The gap was nearly 2 seconds. It's now just over 1.5 seconds, as McClellan has Noller breathing down his neck and also his rear exhaust pipes at the process. Going through into Lecombe. They've dropped Dean Riley. Schmeitat has gotten around the outside of Merchega, going through Radignolle. Here comes Chris Pinchbeck over to the inside on the Lexus. Goes the number 43 from SimSport Racing up the inside. So a change for position for Merchega, and it's actually downwards rather than upwards, because in 2 corners he's lost 2 positions. So Merchega drops from 8th down to 10th position, and there is Bussink, and that gap looks a lot less than 1.372 seconds. That looks like nearly just, well, probably just over about 6 or 7 tenths at this particular moment in time. So whilst these three have been battling, Bussink has really used the agility of that rear-engined, rear-wheel drive Porsche 4-litre flat 6 engine. Weissach's finest, the only Weissach representative in this field. And looking at it from this perspective, the gaps between Schmeitat, Pinchbeck, Merchega and Bussink as they now go through the second intermediate very shortly, I would say that that gap between the quartet is probably going to be no more. Let's just have a look. Half a second. Well, it has actually changed because now Bussink is within 7.5 tenths of Merchega, who has lost out big time. He's lost over a second to Chris Pinchbeck, who is within half a second of Schmeitat, as we are less than 60 seconds away from the official pit stop window. And I don't think it's over yet, but one of the other interesting things I've actually seen here at the moment, Nico, is that Conor McClellan is starting to ramp up the pace. He's got to within 5 seconds of Thiago Lima, but he's still got Jack Noller coming along for the ride at this particular moment. Dean Riley looks to be closing up as well. He's within 1.15 seconds. Jan-Niklas Ebrich rounds out the top 5, nearly 2.4 seconds adrift. As here comes Noller. Is he going to go up the inside of McClellan? Going into Lecombe, thinks better of it, backs out of it. Good call there. And so if he was like literally up of McClellan's back bumper going down Lecombe, going into Lecombe down the Kemmel Straight, he would have had an opportunity. Dean Vella back on the comeback trail here, and he's closing in on TJ Finch, and the pit stop window now officially open for the next 9 minutes and 55 seconds. As you can see on the left hand side of your screens, the amber column showing the number 1 in it shows that there is one mandatory pit stop to be taken by all competitors. As now Schandl trying to close in on Vella, the McLaren against the Lexus, going into Lecombe after the Kemmel Straight. Who's going to get to the apex point first? Schandl looks to get the inside run. Oh, tangles, and oh, front end in the barriers. Oh my goodness me. Schandl was trying but got caught out, and yeah, that front end of that McLaren is looking rather second hand. And if I was Thomas Schandl right now, I would probably say might as well pit, serve the 5 seconds, get the damage repaired, and put Paul Klein-Hoeing in the car.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was probably just a tiny bit of a netcode collision. In these situations, a lot of direction change and then the tiny collisions when the cars are a bit unsettled. Very unfortunate that it has happened, but now hopefully not another netcode collision, as we have almost side by side into the bus stop. And, well... Tamesh quickly here in the picture as we go back to the fight for P2 and P3. P3 now here, Jack Noller looking for the inside of La Source. All of them not opting to pit yet, but Keith Barney is the first one to go into the pit lane and to get his pit stop out of the way. And probably a very, very good idea, as he was right on the tail of Ebrich and right in a battle with Wilkes as well. So undercut, very good strategy to attempt.
Yeah, so Clayton Barney will hand over to Reese Spence Robb in the number 29, as Conor McClellan has got Jack Noller in front of him. Dean Riley is within 6.5 tenths of them, as we have just under 8 minutes of the pit stop window remaining. This is the battle for P2 on the road. A trio of Aston Martins squabbling amongst each others for the scraps on the table, as Thiago Lima is ahead by just under 6.1 seconds. You can just see how close this trio are. They go through Rivage into the next left-hander. Interesting fact I found out quite recently is that the no-name corner is actually in Belgian motorsport circles known as Speaker's Corner, because you can actually hear the commentator on that particular part of the circuit for the circuit PA. So that was something, they do say you learn something new every day, as Noller gets really close in the braking zone on, McLaren on Noller, and on that particular occasion that nearly gave an opportunity for Dean Riley to get past. So still 6 minutes and 53 seconds to go in the pit stop window before it will then be a flat out sprint for 40 minutes. Track temperature 18 degrees Celsius. Air temperature is increasing as well. 14 degrees Celsius. Track temperature is optimum. The sun is now coming out. Good to see Daniel Stramer in the chat. We know who he is cheering on as Reese Spence Robb joins in 16th position. And at the moment, Finch has pitted, Chandler has pitted, Temej has pitted. So that will be another 4 out of the 20 cars showing on the timing towers. Jan-Niklas Ebrich has pitted. And there is Simon Wilkes in the number 12. He's now rounding out the top 5. And this is where things are going to get rather interesting because the drivers now, Nico, really wanting to push like crazy. And this is where we could find out how the strategy works because some drivers are still battling away. I mean, like Machega and Bussink at the moment with 5.5 minutes of the pit stop window to go. I mean, they'll probably have a maximum of 2 laps, if that, if they're going to pit in and decide to put the undercut on the opposition.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in Erbrich's situation as well, it was basically the smartest strategy he could have done right now because all 3 cars ahead of him are still battling, still costing each other time. And with any luck, with David Ohak being right on the money with the new tire pressures, because of course the track has gotten hotter since the start, and well, just generally getting into the rhythm very quickly, then David Ohak could be the one to gain quite a few positions here, and we could perhaps see the Lexus in a podium position.
You could very well be spot on with that analysis there as Dean Vella now makes his way into pit lane, just over 4.5 minutes of the pit stop window to go. Oh, a little bit of back end damage on that Lexus, but as they do say that rubbing's racing, but racing is a non-contact sport. Thiago Lima now making his way through. And this will be the interesting bone of contention, whether how quickly Lima decides to pit. Well, he could go for another lap and decide to pull it in. And wondering if he's actually hearing me at the moment on the commentary, to be completely honest with you, because that's what some of these drivers do. They do listen to the commentary as well. So I would think that we're on to lap number 21. I would say, this is just a hunch here, Nico, that Thiago Lima will do this lap and then pit in and then hand over to Miguel Nieto. And then obviously, Dean Riley now pitting and will hand over to Rich Smith. Simon Wilkes will hand over to Paul Lindsay. And yeah, I think the dynamic of this race will be dependent on the pit stops and who will undercut who, because it looks like Pinchbeck's in, Machega's in, Bussink's in. They're all starting to come in with just over 3 minutes to go. Not at all surprising, because you want to eke that first stint out as long as humanly possible as they now filter their way into the pit lane.
Oh yes, of course. And the thing is, this is the last lap that Lima can do so. Maybe overall he's just the faster driver on their car, so they're trying to get him to do the longest possible time on track. As we also have here in picture now Evangelos Apostolakis, the teammate of Dean Vella, of course, GT Omega RPM Esports, one of the 2 Bentleys that has already pitted. Mercia is of course also in the pit, giving over his car to Dario Mangion. And, well, quite frankly, these are just all these different strategies where people are trying to just find the perfect timing, and especially just in a long race like this with a very long pit lane like this, it's really difficult to find that timing. And I think the best example of that is Mercia, Pinchbeck and Bussink all coming in at the same time. And I think that also played into the cards of Shemaitat quite a bit.
Yep, so we have just over 2 minutes to go in the pit stop window, and I would hazard a guess that Shemaitat will be in next time around, as will Jan Yale. in the number 48 Audi. And he's partnered with Jordan Grant-Smith. Thiago Lima now in pit lane from the lead of this race. And I did see that Bussing actually clipped the wall on the right-hand side going through the pit lane entrance through La Source. So this is about just keeping it neat and tidy. It'll be a 50km/h speed limit. So they'll trundle their way down. It's very, very long going through there as Rich Smith battling away with Spence Robb, and there is David Ohak, the teammate of Jan-Niklas Ebrich. And very soon we will have the pit stop window closing in 1 minute and 15 seconds. So Jan Yeo should be in the pits very, very soon. The number 48, I would imagine, should be in this lap, and looks to be so. And that has been confirmed by the timing tower. So every single team will have made their mandatory pit stop. Rich Smith going one way, then the other to defend from Reese Spence Robb. And now they've got one of the things that they're doing here is they're compromising themselves in terms of where people are in the pits, because now we wait for the 101, the 36, the 37, the 92 and the 48 to when they are going to exit the pits, because now this trio here are starting to make their way towards Blanchimont. They're at full speed. The tyres are up to temperature. There is a yellow flag out on circuit that has been briefly retracted. But this is where it's going to be close. 15 seconds on the pit stop window. We don't need to worry about anybody having to effect a drive-through. So Reese Spence Robb goes, he's turned around Rich Smith into the barriers, coming onto the start-finish straight. Rich Smith on the into the barriers. Oh my goodness me, that was coming out of the bus stop chicane. Reese Spence Robb went to the outside. I know for a fact that is going to be investigated by race control. And after all that great work from Dean Riley, Rich Smith has just got the bad end of the stick. As now Miguel Neto comes out of the pits and looks to be still leading. That looks to be a comfortable lead at the moment. So Itamar Yativ will be behind the wheel of the 36, which is now making its way down. And then the number 37 car, there's Tom Hull, that is now taken over from Thomas Schmeitat. So Itamar Yativ 10.2 seconds behind Miguel Neto. And Tom Hall rounds out the top 8, but that was drama personified for Rich Smith. A real shame after all that good work from Dean Riley, and again it's just a sign. And you know what? I sense that there is a very, very fired up Rich Smith, because that car, it might be wounded with that clamshell bonnet out of alignment, because now Reese Spence Robb, guess who's behind him? Kieran Vidago, and I know Kieran very, very well. He will also throw caution to the wind with 38.5 minutes still to go. Now we're going to have a look at the replay here. Now this is Dario Mangion. Now this is coming through. I think that is through Pouhon. No, it's going into Pouhon now, into the first part of it. Oh, loses the back end. Oh. He doesn't want to do Tokyo Drift at Spa, does he, unfortunately? But that just goes to show how quickly you can overcook it, as Rich Smith is ahead of Paul Lindsay in the number 12. And then you've got, just keeping an eye here. Oh, that's wide and then some. Rich Smith, he's hit the barriers again. Oh, that front end was already damaged. And look, he's just returned it to garage. I think that's terminal for Rich Smith. That's a real shame for Sim Sport Solutions right there. That is an obscene amount of damage. That will be terminal, and that has changed the dynamics of the race once again. So here on the Giro Series, here on World Pro Racing, we have 37.5 minutes remaining. Miguel Neto leading the way ahead of Itamar Yativ. Then we got the number 37. Rounding out the top 3 cars at this particular moment in time. And that is Kost behind the wheel. We're actually with David Ohak closing in on Kost in the 37. And that's the battle for 3rd and 4th place. Reese Spence Robb in 5th. And we're just getting some news from race control. And I think that... right. Here we go. I knew it was going to come. Drive-through penalty given to the number 29 of Reece Spence-Robb for that incident coming out of the bus stop chicane on Rich Smith. So that puts the number 29 out of contention. We're going to have a look at what happened here. Now, this is Rich Smith going off the track just now. And, yeah, he's just trying to turn the car right. It's wanting to snaps to the left. And, yeah, that's terminal, unfortunately, it looks like. Well, let's see. Car still in the pit. So, Reece Spence-Robb will have 3 laps to serve that drive-through penalty. As we now see the unfortunate sight of the number 22 dropping down the timing tower. So a real shame for them. 23 laps completed of this 7.004 kilometre circuit. And Miguel Nieto still leading. Itmar Yativ in second. Milo Kost rounds out the top 3 and is being chased down by the Lexus, the 312 of DJ Racing's David Ohak. Reece Spence-Robb's drive-through penalty will thereby promote SimSport Racing's Paul Lindsay. And then Tom Hull, Kieran Vidago. Then we've got Jordan Grant-Smith and Tom McCoffin. Rounding out the top 10 at the moment. But, Nico, you hate to see the slightest of incidents like that because that front end was severely damaged as a result of that contact between Spence-Robb and Rich Smith. And, yeah, when you've got a wounded car, you're trying to get it back to the pit lane to repair the damage, and then to have it instantly snap left coming out of Stavlo is not what you want. And Dean Riley has confirmed that they are out.
It's a big shame for sure. The problem is, of course, well, I was going to say, very aggressive from Rich Smith to keep that line and sort of force Reece Spence off the circuit there. However, Reece Spence-Robb then, trying to get back onto the circuit. Of course, he's running out of road, but, well, mate, you still have to get off the throttle for a moment because you can't drive through the other car. So, very unfortunate incident for sure. And then, of course, Rich Smith trying to get the car, of course, around the track again. Just a bit too much understeer into Paul Frère. And, well, getting into the gravel, then getting back onto tarmac. And that's when the car jumped. Car lands. Of course, the suspension is already completely messed up. And, well, then comes the tank slapper, which just completely totals the car. So very unfortunate, of course. And, well, it just breaks your heart, doesn't it?
It does indeed. But we still... Oh my goodness me. 22 seconds of front end damage according to Rich Smith. So no aerodynamics. That's why the car snapped the way it did. That's a real shame for Rich and Dean. I know them both well. And that's a real shame for them. But with 33.5 minutes still remaining here on the first ever running of the Giro Series, there are going to be future races in, well, a similar type of format to this in the not too distant future, so you can stay tuned to worldproracing.com/events, as here comes the battle for third, and here comes David Ohak battling away with Milo Kost from M2 competition. Oh, very, very deep into the braking zone. Oh, they come together. But the thing is, that was all of Milo Kost's own doing. And David Ohak had absolutely nowhere to go whatsoever. So I think that's more of a racing incident from my line of sight, because David Ohak, he knew that the opportunity was there. Milo Kost just literally made a rod for his own back, accidentally put the car into a right-hand spin, and then all of a sudden David Ohak went, right, I can't do anything about that. Wallop.
Yeah, absolutely. I does also agree with that. Milo Kost just ever so slightly overcooked it into the chicane, and then also, of course, hit the sausage curb. And, well, it is an effective way to keep people from cutting corners. However, when you hit that said sausage curb, it's a little bit surprising, to say the least, very often. But yeah, Ohak no doubt has some damage, but at least the position, so we'll now have to see if that damage impedes with his ability to maybe start hunting Itamar Yativ of the GT Omega RPM Esports team.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, and they'll just keep on pushing right up until the end of this race. Now, the thing is, Reece Spence Rob, that's concerning me because that drive-through is yet to be served. So I'm wondering, Nico, he must be on his third and final lap, because otherwise if he doesn't get in, that could mean a possible disqualification, because that's black flag straight away, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely it is. And, well, he will, of course, you know, when you get a penalty like that around this circuit, you're not going to be happy with it. But, well, you done messed it up yourself, boys, so you're going to have to live with that. So, you know, it's 60 seconds lost, and it's 60 seconds that could have easily been avoided. But, yeah.
I was just going to say, in just like the way you just explained that, like you did it to yourself, boys. So you become like an American police patrol officer or something on a highway shift or something, Nico.
Well, yeah.
And I've just been informed, funnily enough, by Adrian Figalo, as here comes Reece Spence Rob to serve his drive-through penalty. Yep, Costa Nohak has been declared a racing incident. I thought that might be the case. So as always, our FIA accredited race director, Adrian Figalo, very quickly on the money as Reece Spence Rob. This is what we like to call, well, this is what is more commonly known as the drive-through of shame, isn't it? When you have an incident like that. But Miguel Neto doing his level best to just keep pushing forward, and pretty good from Itamar Yativ. You know, really good to see that Jack Noller got the car up to second position from fifth, and kept his head cool whilst others lost theirs. So we have an hour completed, 30 minutes to go, and yeah, it's been a pretty steady run for Itamar Yativ and Jack Noller. Good showing by Rookie Monsters as well, as Elko Bussink handing over to Tony McCoffin from Rookie Monsters in the 42 Porsche. Listen to that flat six just roar its way down the Kemmel Straight. That's glorious. But then you get all the additional acoustic noises, such as the sudden and sharp as a razor gear shifts. Then the squeaking of the brakes going through into the corners. Very, very visceral experience in a race car. Up to third. Through into the left-hander through at No Name. And just having a look at the moment. Yeah, looking pretty steady from Tony McCoffin here, Nico, but just looking where they started. Well, they started 10th. They're currently in 9th position. Not too bad a showing for the Porsche, the sole Porsche in this.
Position gain is a position gain, of course, and especially in the Porsche with a rear engineer. A lot of fast corners where you have to keep it flat out. A lot of corners, well, where you just don't want it to understeer. And understeer is the Porsche's second name, basically, with that rear engine. And of course also a rather big deficiency in straight line speed, which was visible earlier a few times when that Porsche was trying to keep up with a couple of Lexuses on the Kemmel Straight. It's very good showing indeed, and well, to the patient will come fortune. So it's just very good run from them overall. Itamar Yativ as well. That car was fighting quite a lot to try and stay up with that pace, to try and keep up with the top four, and now in second place, very well earned second place position as well.
Yeah, so we have just 27.5 minutes of this race still remaining, as Tom Hull now coming into battle with Paul Lindsay. And this is the battle for 5th position, so Aston Martin versus Ferrari going into Rivage, and the sun is well and truly Front and centre up in the sky above, because the track temperature has now increased once more. Air temperature 15 degrees, track temperature 19 degrees in Celsius, and the track is at optimum. And around a circuit like this, Nico, it's either one of two extremes. It's either very, very hot and sunny, or it's absolutely piddling down a good and like raining cats and dogs, and it's windy and cold and overcast here at Spa.
Yeah, and of course it's quite difficult with that because, well, Nürburgring is very famous for, if you don't like the weather, wait for 5 minutes because it will definitely change. Mm-hmm. And this track is, I think, by air connection, it's basically just 100 kilometers or 90 kilometers away from the Nürburgring. So, yeah, the weather normally does tend to change quite a lot around here, but luckily for our drivers, it seems to stay at a steady and very, very nice 15 degrees ambient temperature, 20 degrees track temperature, and, well, isn't that just a dream to drive?
Yeah. So, drivers reveling in the conditions. And sometimes well, you've experienced it before as well, Nico, both in the rain and in the dry here on the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform. So, as always, mate, great insights, but drivers still pushing. They will give 110% until the checkered flag falls, which will be in around 25.5 minutes. Running order with that amount of time still to go. So Miguel Neto in the 101, leading after, well, we're now on to lap number 28 of this race, and has a 12.3 second advantage over GT Omega RPM Esports Itamar Yativ, who you see on your screens right now. A further 9.8 seconds behind is the highest placed out of the three Lexus cars, and that is David Ohak in the 312, just making his way through No Name, and Milo Kost in the 37 Aston Martin, rounding out the top four. Then Paul Lindsay in the number 12, completing the top five. Tom Hall in 6th in the 92 Ferrari. The 43 Aston Martin of Kieran Vidago. As Reece Spence-Robb now in 13th as a result of that drive-through penalty, as a result of an incident between him and Rich Smith a few laps ago on lap number 21, which will have been the best part of nearly 8 laps ago, or 7 laps ago. And he's behind Grant Smith in 8th, McCoffin in 9th, Fries Grönbech in 10th, Dario Mangion and Evangelos Apostolakis running at the top 12. Then the number 100, we have got Stuart Ladd. And then Paul Klein Hoeing. We've got Chris William Eriksson battling away. Now, I'm wondering if that is for position. I don't think that is the case. There is an Aston just up ahead, because you've also got the number 9. Well, that is actually the leader of Miguel Neto. So Eriksson has been lapped and has just got a drive-through. Now, that will be for track limits. And this is where things start to get a little bit tetchy towards the end of the race, Nico, because the adrenaline would have been high for all of the drivers. Especially if you've been in the first stint and you're the one effectively being the spotter for your teammate for the best part of well over 45 minutes, and then that adrenaline's going to keep on pumping through those veins if you've done the first stint, and then you've got to do the spotter duty for your teammate. But then sometimes it can be the other way around as well, can't it? You know, doing the spotter's job for the first half of the race and then getting behind the wheel, and your adrenaline will be sky high.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the role of the spotter, I think, often gets downplayed because, of course, everyone cares about what happens behind the wheel. And in real motorsports, of course, you have a dedicated spotter for that. So you have a professional for that. But I think, especially for events like this, it's important that you have, you know, someone that you know already, someone that you trust, someone that you have a lot of experience with, simply because you know how to keep that person calm. Because if you get too hot-headed, of course, you need some hot-headedness, I'd say, in racing, simply to just be able to draw out, you know, your maximum performance in that sense. But to keep you just in that perfect range, I think you just need someone that you know very well already. And, well, it's just very, very fun to have that person to just continue to try to calm you down, especially in an incident then, you know, because you're in the car, you're probably going to be, well, quite angry, I imagine. And that is so... Milo Kost. Actually, sorry, there was Lindsay actually just barely evading the same fate as... I think, yeah, there was Rich Smith. And that was... Sorry, that completely threw me out of the context there.
I think definitely Nico Hildbrand had a moment of his own there, ladies and gentlemen. I've had a few today already. So, especially when I mentioned the word blanchiment, and my voice went a little bit higher in octaves, and also in the tone on how to say the word blanchiment. But Paul Lindsay is about a second adrift off of the 92 of Tom Hull as we head into the latter stages of this race. Just over 20 minutes to go. And it's still not done over with yet because, okay, you might say that the front of the field is very processional, more than likely because Miguel Neto now has a 13.3 second advantage ahead of GT Omega RPM Esports. Itamar Yativ, David Ohak rounds out the top three, but this is the battle that we're really concentrating our focus on here on the live stream itself, as we've got a stop go 30. The biggest penalty you can be hit with here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Chris William Eriksson gets a stop go 30. Now that to me sounds like an incident might have happened there, Nico. Not 100%, but maybe it might have been one of the cars in front that he might have gotten a bit tangled up with.
No. That was a different thing, which is, I think, even more frustrating in his cause, because we saw a car in the pit lane earlier, as we saw Lindsay and Rule following each other, and I am pretty certain that was Eriksson delivering a drive-through penalty, and, well, maybe a little bit too late on the pit limiter, so, well... Since he already knows the way around the pit lane so well, he's going to take another trip to it quickly, and hopefully this time against the pit limiter quicker.
Yeah, I know. I've had that before, where I've had a message whilst I'm commentating on a league or a race of some description as Milo Kost now coming under fire. Oh, looks like a three-way scrap for fourth position as we go into the last 19 minutes. He said, "Yeah, I got to stop go 30." And he went, yeah, pit lane limiter. I forgot to hit it. And I was like, oh, really? And you know when you just go like, oh, really? Sort of reaction on the direct message. So it can happen to the best of them out there. But now, Hull closing on Kost, going up through Eau Rouge into Radillon we go. Oh, it's getting rather dicey. The pair go wide coming out of Radillon. And Hull goes to the left. That Ferrari looks to have the run on the Aston Martin. But that was very close. That definitely will have awarded both of them a track cut from the system software. But it's getting rather close through Lecombe. Oh, bit of a mistake there from Milo Kost and Paul Lindsay. Waiting to have the opportunity to get past. This is getting rather dicey. And Kost goes one way, then the other. Tom Hull gets up into fourth position as they head through Rivage. Now into No Name. Oh my goodness me. I did say that this would be rather feisty. I think someone has pulled the pin on the grenade and thrown it at the circuit and seen where the explosions have happened. Well, it's happening right here, right now, with 17.5 minutes still to go. So Hull versus Kost versus Lindsay. Hull was the Ferrari meat in the Aston Martin sandwich, but he's not there any longer and looking to pull away, and has gotten away initially, probably to the best tune of what is going to be well over half a second. Paul Lindsay now trying to wind up the speed on that Aston Martin, the number 12. As they now head towards Blanchimont. Kieran Vidago in the distance. In the 43, was about 5.2 seconds behind. The gap has now gone down by over a second and a half. And you can see all 4 cars on the same part of the, well, pretty much on the same screen. As Vidago will now be making his way through the second half of the bus stop chicane and will mash the throttle. And Lindsay closing on Cost for 5th place. Was 3.5 tenths behind. The last lap from him was a 2-minute 20.4. Now down the hill. On the descent, the rundown from La Source. Down towards Eau Rouge. And then up the hill towards Radillon. Who's going to have the cojones to get up there? They all do, otherwise they wouldn't be doing this. You can now see the speed starting to increase as Lindsay selects 6th gear. And now waits to nail the apex into the right-hander here at Lecombe, into the left. Closing on Cost as now they go down into Malmedy, this sweeping right-hander before the next one at Rivage. Good to see Adam Isolovic in the chat with us as well. He's cheering on Paul Lindsay and Kieran Vidago, who are both respectively 6th and 7th on the circuit. But it's still Miguel Neto leading the way as Ericsson now serving the drive-through penalty for the 666. So that's the second Aston Martin that's had to do, well, he's got to serve not just a drive-through, well, it's effectively a stop-go 30. So that car will be stationary in the pits for 30 seconds. That's the best part of nearly a minute and a half that car will spend in the pits. And we'll drop it down to last on the road, which will be 18th position. But still to see these Aston Martins battle away here, Nico. I have to say, chapeau to the pair of them. They've absolutely been wringing the necks of these cars. But Tom Hall has started to get away from them to the tune of nearly 1.6 seconds.
Yeah, I think overall, the drivers of the 92, with everything that has hit them, you know, they were very determined on, well, showing the Aston Martins that this isn't just a pure Aston Martin track, and I think they've definitely done that. But even with all the misfortune they've hit, they've done a great recovery drive. I remember them being down in 11th place, and to bring it back up to 4th place, fantastic drive. At the same time, I have to say, David Ohak and Jan-Niklas Erbrich, their efforts, absolutely fantastic, because that Lexus is definitely not one of the forces of nature here currently. I'd say the forces of nature around this circuit at the moment are the Ferrari, the Aston Martin, and the McLaren. And I say that because from first-hand experience, I did the 24 hours of Spa in the second split of the SimGrid World Cup here a couple of weeks ago. The top 22 with the pole time of 2:15.5, the top 22 were only Aston Martins, Ferraris, and McLarens. And to be honest, to bring that Lexus around here into that top spot, fantastic drive from David Ohak and Jan-Niklas Erich. So, chapeau.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I was commentating on qualifying for the Thrustmaster 24 Hours of Spa at the SimGrid. So I don't know if I don't remember. Did you actually go out and qualify for Split 2 for Bud Labal Motorsport, if I remember correctly? Yes.
Top Bentley in 31st.
And then ended up P5 at the end of 24 hours. So chapeau to you as well, monsieur, as they say. So. You know, the thing is, I always keep up to date with what, you know, if some of our commentators who do sim racing, like Nico does, that's why his insight is always so welcome. But yes, I have to second that with regards to it. But also the efforts from Itamar Yativ and Jack Noller from GT Omega RPM Esports. They've done a really good job. Obviously, it's been a bit of a different story for Dean Vella and Evangelos Apostolakis in the 54 car. As well, they've had a bit of a tough time, down in 12th position, and you know the thing was they started 13th. Oh, someone's now kicked up the dust a little bit in front of Mino Cost, who still got that might have been the car in front, which will be Chris William Eriksson in the Garage 59 liveried car. Oh, now that's not how you negotiate the bus stop chicane, but thank goodness you saw the blue flags, because now, look, Paul Lindsay has got to worry about who's behind him, because Kieran Vidago was about 5.2 seconds behind 3 laps ago. He's now 1.5 seconds. So a trio of Aston Martins will battle it out for the final step, or the final part of the top 5, but Milo Kost leading that in the number 37 ahead of Paul Lindsay in the number 12 and the 43 of Kieran Vidago. Vidago partnering up with Chris Pinchbeck as we go on board with Paul Lindsay once again in excess of 260 kilometers an hour and hits 267 kph before the braking zone in 6th gear. Now, for those wondering what that is in miles per hour, that is 165 mph. As Reece Spence-Robb going toe-to-toe with Evangelos Apostolakis, and look towards the outside to get the cut back through. Oh, a little bit of a touch left front with
Very
right
close.
rear. That was very close indeed, and yeah, that was definitely a little bit close for comfort there. I think Reece Spence-Robb was like thinking, I do not need a second drive through, as Paul Lindsay really trying to thread the eye of the needle, going through into Le Fan, trying to go up the inside of Kost through into Buon, the number 12. Not quite there yet as they go through in towards Stavlo. Could get a good run if he gets out of here, but that's still a little bit deep into the braking zone. He's got to really carry the momentum through Stavlo. Gets a bit of curb going through the exit of the second part of it. And now the run down towards Blanchimont. Up towards 6th gear at over 260 kilometers an hour. And this is where you need intestinal fortitude, aka the 4-letter word known as guts, to get through that corner at that high speed. And right hard on the braking zone goes Paul Lindsay. That was definitely aggressive, and then some, as Apostolakis fending off Spence-Robb. And in the last 10 and a half minutes, Nico, well, the last minute and a half or so, someone's definitely been lighting the bonfires under these sim racing seats at the moment, because everyone's
Guys, wait, hold up, actually. It's just 10 minutes left. Quickly, calculate how much that is. And they just, everyone gets the calculators out. And it's around 4 to 5 laps, depending on where you are. And so, of course, everyone is like, oh boy. Oh, expletive words. We have to start racing again.
Oh, Reece Spence-Robb going very, very bravely round the outside of Martin Fries Grönbeck from Trash Pans Racing. And Adam Misalovic goes, hopefully the TV director will not cut to Stroll in the pits before the overtake. Don't worry, we haven't got Lance Stroll on this race, as Reece Spence-Robb goes up the inside of Fries Grönbeck to take 11th position, going through the exit of La Source. 8 minutes and 20 still to go. Lindsay is just about 2 tenths away from Milo Kost as Grönbeck goes very, very hard over the curbs going through Radillon. And now here is the battle. Kieran Vidago, ladies and gentlemen, has now joined the party. So it is Lindsay in the middle of this particular Aston Martin meat and bread sandwich, going through into Stavlo, and Vidago's got a good run on Lindsay. Oh, that was nearly all 4 wheels off track, but he was right on the limit, was Vidago. And now they head towards Blanchimont. This is where it's all going to count. 7.5 minutes still remaining. And Miguel Neto now making his way down the Kemmel Straight, as deep into the braking zones once again goes Kost, Lindsay and Vidago. And they are you literally cannot pull them apart for the want of trying. up towards La Source. So who is going to outbrake who? Well, Kieran Vidago, deepest on the brakes going into La Source to try and get a good run. We ride on board with the number 43 from SimSport Racing. Down the hill, up to 4th gear. 220 kph and now shifting up to 5th. Through into Eau Rouge and up towards Radiant. All bit off track there from Lindsay. That's going to open the door. But Lindsay's trying to cut off the opportunity for Kieran Vidago. Vidago's going to send it as they go hurtling their way into Le Comte. Kieran Vidago, is he going to get 6th position? Oh yeah, breaks himself and for a little bit of gets a little bit of a tap from behind. The slightest of love taps there from Paul Lindsay, but he gives the position back. He did exactly the right thing, but that was Kieran Vidago's possibly one opportunity of maybe going for P5 against Milo Kost, but we still have 6 minutes and 10 seconds still to go, Nico. Anything can happen, and here in motorsport, it pretty much normally does.
Yeah, pretty much. We've seen that maneuver quite a few times now, basically braking a bit later and then parking it, funnily enough, on the exit instead of on the apex for turn 7. But Vidago definitely showing some great pace there, and I think Paul Lindsay is now definitely under some pressure as they're just trying to catch back up to Milo Kost, and I think Kost really just appreciated those two guys just starting to fight each other a bit more, because look at that, 1.5 seconds of a gap. That is quite a bit to close in, I think, basically 3 laps that we have left.
Well, at the moment, that will more than likely be the case, because Miguel Neto now on lap number 37 and has just made his way through Eau Rouge and Radion. There he is. The Phoenix Racing Portugal Simdash Aston Martin having a comfortable gap as Itmar Yativ now making his way through Eau Rouge and up into Radion before hitting the Camel Straight. It has been a pretty much a textbook run by the Phoenix Racing Portugal Simdash duo of Miguel Neto and Thiago Lima. They've done a stellar job. They have not put a foot wrong all race long, and we have just 4 3/4 minutes remaining. Itmar Yativ now coming through Les Combes and heading into Malmedy. Still 16.8 seconds off. But one of the things that I am noticing here with 4.5 minutes to go, Nico, is that the gap between David Ohak and Tom Hull was 4 seconds. It's now 2.7. So I think the battle for 3rd place could be fought right up until the dying deaths of this race.
I think it'll be very close for that. Just as we have, I think 2 more laps to go after this. So Tom Hull will definitely be on maximum attack now that Ferrari is after all also undamaged. But Ohak had that collision there with Milo Kost, so that could have actually played into quite a bit of damage there from that hit. And, well, front downforce loss is really not something that you need with the Lexus around here. So I think for David Ohak it's now going to be, the defensive drive of his life. And for Tom Hull it's going to be the most aggressive of attacks that he can do to just get that coveted podium spot.
Yeah, so we should hopefully, very soon, we've just seen that we are now on the penultimate lap of this race. So Miguel Neto now making his way on lap number 38. So we'll have a total of 39 laps of the 7.004 kilometre circuit here at Spa-Francorchamps, which will be a total of 273 0.156 kilometres as the total distance in kilometres. Miles will be a shade under 170 miles of racing action completed. So not too far off of what a traditional Formula 1 race would be, which would probably be the best part of just over 300 kilometres. Where a race at Spa, which is normally 44 laps. So we are pretty much close to that. We'll be on, so we'll be 5 shy So yeah, 308 kilometres would be the total distance covered over a Belgian Grand Prix. But Dario Mangion being closed in on by Rhys Spence-Robb. They're going through into Blanchimont right now. The leader now making his way through Pouhon. What will be the penultimate time? And I've just seen that Ohak and Hall 1.3 seconds adrift of each other. As Mangion now will cross the stripe ahead of Rhys Spence-Robb. 1 minute and 45 to go on the clock. And the next time around, Miguel Neto will be on the final lap of this race. The track temperature has increased. It has been on a multiple time. It's been on a several time multiplier, so probably a 2 to 3 time multiplier here tonight. And the server is now at 12:13 p.m. as Mangion and Rhys Spence-Robb go up the hill. The Aston gets a real good tow down the Kemmel straightaway, and then pulls towards the... Oh, that's 2 wheels on the grass for Spence-Robb. My goodness me. But leader now on the final lap, and Spence-Robb going to send it around the outside of Mangion. And look at that for textbook. Even a little bit of a cheeky door up as well. But Mangion trying to go through the inside through Malmedy. And Rhys Spence-Robb says, oh no, you don't, sunshine. That's not your 10th place. It's mine now. He gets the job completed by Rivage. But meanwhile, the battle between Cost, Lindsay and Vidago is really firing up, because they're going to go on to the final lap. Lindsay nearly has Vidago going up the inside of him through the bus stop chicane, the first part of it thereof. And now these three have won. They have 7 kilometres to go to decide who is going to be P6. And it's getting rather close. Oh, outbraking himself there was Kieran Vidago. That's not what he needed. Going through into La Source as the timer strikes 0. Our leader, Miguel Neto, now making his way towards Pouhon for the final time as we ride on board with Kieran Vidago. That's it. 90 minutes are up and over and done with. As here's the run from Kieran Vidago. He's closing as David Ohak is ahead of Tom Hall, who had a bit of a moment going through into Les Combes. So that is where things have gotten really much. Well, it depends on how quickly Tom Hall closes in on David Ohak. But there is your leader going through into Stavelot for the final time. And then it's just the further part of the circuit towards Blanchimont. And then the bus stop chicane. But I'm just keeping my eyes on that battle royale between Cost, Lindsay and Vidago. And that's going to be the battle we're really going to need to concentrate on, along with Ohak and Hall. As now, there is Lindsay, there's Vidago. Cost has got a little bit wide going through Pouhon. But our leader about to come through the bus stop chicane. It is going to be a victory for the pairing of Tiago Lima and Miguel Neto. So parabéns, Phoenix Racing Portugal Sim Dash. After 39 laps of racing, Itamar Yativ brings it home for GT Omega RPM Esports from 5th on the grid to 2nd. So Itamar Yativ and Jack Noller will take 2nd. David Ohak fending off Tom Hall for the final step on the rostrum. Here we go, down into the braking zone at the bus stop chicane. Is it going to be Lexus? Is it going to be Ferrari? We're about to find out, because I think David Ohak has just done it off. He has. He comes out of the bus stop chicane. DJ Racing, Jan-Niklas Everich and David Ohak take 3rd by 7/10 of a second ahead of Thomas Hall. Now we focus on this 3-way scrap, and Milo Cost has held on to 5th position. The 37 comes across the line ahead of the 12 and the 43. So the number 37 pairing takes 5th position. Paul Lindsay and Simon Wilkes round out the top 6, and a noble fight back from Kieran Vidago and Chris Pinchbeck to take 7th at the flag. No problem. Muito obrigado is all I'm going to say to Tiago Lima. We will be speaking to some of the drivers, hopefully the top 3 post-race. Tony McCoffin rounding out the top 9 with Elko Bussink, and then Clayton Barney and Rhys Spence-Robb will complete the top 10. What could have been, it's a coulda, woulda, shoulda situation for the number 29 crew, but they still recover to complete the top 10. Having a drive-through penalty following contact, which took out, unfortunately, Rich Smith, Dario Mangion and Mikael Merchega round out the top 11. The number 13 crew of Martin Fries Grönbrecht brings the car across the line for him and Stefan Lingard Thompson. Evangelos Apostolakis and Dean Vella will round out the top 13. The number 100 car of Stuart Ladd and Dan Pye will complete the top 14, but it is a win for those drivers from Portugal, Tiago Lima and also Miguel Neto. Hopefully we'll have some drivers in very, very shortly indeed. Well, actually, let's get things started. Nico, let's hand over to you, because it looks like we have the pairing of DJ Racing's Jan-Niklas Ebrich and David Ohak.
Well, first of all, you two, congratulations for, well, defeating the overbearing Aston Martin threat, so to say. How do you guys feel about this entire race? How do you feel as the best performing naturally aspirated car? And, of course, best performing non-Aston Martin?
Yeah, it's, thanks. Yeah, my heart is racing right now because I could only watch it, and it was so close at the end with the Ferrari. Yeah, it was really nice to beat the Aston Martin dominance. Yeah.
Right, David, in the last remaining hours, you had this contact with Milo in the last couple moments, and then, of course, damage. Very big shock moment for you, probably, and then trying to hang on 4P3 against the Ferrari. Overall, how difficult was it?
It was really, really difficult. I think 3 or 4 second damage, aero damage, so I give my maximum to hold the gap, 8 seconds, I think, but it was really, really hard. It was a great fight, ended of the race with Ferrari guys, but we have a great setup from Jan, so that was really helpful.
So yeah, from the DJ Racing team, these two drivers, fantastic race from them. And, well, Jan-Niklas Ebrich stopped racing around 45 minutes ago, but his heart still hasn't stopped racing. So, very exciting race for both of them. And do you two guys want to do any call-outs to sponsors? Any shout-outs?
Well, we don't have sponsors, but I think for my side, I want to shout out my family, my girlfriend, and my friends.
Wonderful. And David?
I want to say thank you to my father and, of course, my girlfriend and my teammate Jan. Thank you all, guys.
Thank you.
Wonderful to hear here. And, well, teammates getting along well. What would you want more? Well-deserved third place, last step on the podium, but of course, always very welcome. Back to you, Alex.
Okay, let's have a chat with our runners-up. Started 5th on the grid, but ended up bringing it home for GT Omega RPM Esports in 2nd position. The pairing of Jack Noller and Itamar Yativ. Guys, firstly, congratulations on a great result. Jack, let's go to you first. Obviously, you managed to make hay whilst the sun shined and put yourself and Itamar into a very, very good position. Obviously, there were dramas for the 22 SimSport Solutions crew. It's just a case of just pressing on and just getting Itamar into some clear air, and that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, it was very, very close in qualifying. I lost 2 tenths in the first corner on my flying lap, so could have been pole, but made the most of it in the race, and the setup was made to be fast in a straight line, so that helped out a lot to make some moves a little bit easier than they would have been otherwise. So great moves going up through the field, great, very, very aggressive, tight racing at the front. Managed to get into P2 just before the stops, and yeah, this team was a bit of a driver with a bit more experience than ACC and a driver with a bit less, and see how it goes. But Itmar drove really, really well today, given how little practice he has and how little experience he has of this sim. So I'll hand it over to him to, I guess, talk over his half of the race.
Yeah, so Itmar. Spa's not the easiest circuit to drive around, but it must have been nice just to sort of bring the car home and get a really good solid result for the team.
Yeah, thank you. Really, really happy. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. Really, really happy. And thank you to Jack for all the good things he's saying, and for the team. Was a great experience. Not a lot of experience with ACC, but wow, that was amazing. Hugely fun.
Well, guys, do you have any shout-outs for any friends, family, sponsors before we let you guys go for the rest of the evening?
Yeah, we'll of course shouting out to our sponsors at GT Omega, Gaming Malta and HyperX, as well as yourselves here, and to all the family and friends and everyone watching on the TV. Hopefully it was a good race for you to watch, and hopefully not too many crashes and chaos, but hopefully it was enjoyable.
Yeah, I will second that. And one last thing to my daughters, that they weren't crying and was letting me to race cleanly and happily.
Well, Jack Nolla and Itmar Yativ, thank you for joining us, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and no doubt we'll see you soon back here on World Pro Racing.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Nico, I'm going to hand over to you to speak to our race winners, Miguel Neto and Thiago Lima.
Miguel, Thiago,
hello.
What a race from you guys.
Hello. First of all, it was not easy. We entered this race with not a lot of expectations, with all the fast guys that are here, and qualifying third was a big surprise for us, and finishing first was also a biggest surprise, but it was not an easy race, for sure.
Yeah, you struggled a little bit to overtake 4P1 at the start, but then once the move was done, you seemed to just take off. Overall, did you have a lot of confidence in the car, or was it a bit of a surprise for you?
In the end, it was a surprise because the setup was not that good, so we were struggling a bit in the fast corners with the rear end, but since the second and third place were fighting a bit, it helped a bit with the confidence in the end, so that was the key.
Right, very good first stint then, of course, from you, Thiago. And then Miguel took over and, of course, brought it home with, an even bigger distance in the end. Miguel, how difficult did you find it finding into the rhythm and, just getting going at your stint?
Yeah, first, the first stint of Thiago was amazing. So 5-6 seconds of the field in the gap, our stop was very good. We exited the pits with a bigger gap that Thiago left, and for me was taking the car to the end with no mistakes, with no exits in corners, and it was very good result for the team.
Definitely a very good drive from you as well, of course. Started with 5-6 seconds distance, and then you expanded it to 12, so both of you, very good drive. And do you guys want to do any shout-outs to family, friends or sponsors?
Of course, to the family and Simdash that supports us with their amazing Sim Dashes.
And Miguel?
Yeah, Simdash and all friends and family. With
and the team, and the team boss.
The team boss of Phoenix too.
Almost forgot that one. Hopefully they missed that, Hopefully they missed that.
That would have been a mistake and a half, like saying the team boss saying, why didn't you guys mention me at the end? But no, congratulations, guys. Well done on a well-deserved victory. So, parabéns, as I said on the commentary. And thank you very much for the mention in the chat, Thiago. I do appreciate it. I do have friends over in Portugal, but my Portuguese probably is just about that good. But it is what it is. But well done, guys. Congratulations on winning the inaugural Giro Series here on World Pro Racing.
Yeah, and congratulations you too, and in the series, in the races here are amazing.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
So, Nico, it's sort of, that's the thing with this endurance racing stuff. It always builds to a crescendo, and you know, we're going to be looking forward to maybe some more exciting races and maybe even some longer ones too. I hear from our broadcast studio back over in Malta, who do a fantastic job. But just your final thoughts before we close things here on World Pro Racing about tonight's activities.
Well, if I'm not wrong, this was pretty much the first sort of driver swap endurance race that we had here. And of course, with this Duo Series, it is a start into more endurance-y things at World Pro Racing. So I think we're definitely able to look forward to a lot more exciting racing as well. And hopefully it will also expand our driver pool that we always have. Of course, this is professionally run with these broadcasts, you know, with all of our broadcast partners, and of course with our sponsors as well that help us just make these events possible. And of course with our FIA accredited stewards, it's a very great environment to be racing in. And I quite frankly am looking forward to what's about to come. So.
Yeah, we've got a very, very busy week starting with this evening here for the first ever running of the Giro Series at Spa-Francorchamps. Tomorrow night, join us for the Alpine GT4 Championship, round 3 out of 5 at Adelaide, and then round 2 of the AMD GT4 Series, which will head to Alton Park. And then next up on this coming Friday, we'll have the third round of the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series, which heads to South Africa, to Kyalami for the third round of the season. Again, don't forget to follow us on all relevant social media channels on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and you can also find our official website on worldproracing.com. And if you want to find out what is going on our calendars, also add to that /events. A big thank you to our partners as always at Gaming Malta, Thrustmaster, GT Omega Racing, HyperX and AMD. A big thank you to those watching on the affiliated World Pro Racing streams on both Facebook, YouTube and Twitch, and also watching on Malta's TVM Sport channel, motorsport.tv and eSports Television. As always, we can't forget to acknowledge our good friends over in Malta. At our broadcast studio, our FIA accredited race director Adrian Figalo, and the race steward as well, George Muscat, and also Justin and Nathan Mifsud controlling the cameras at the broadcast studio, where there's a lot of developments underway, some exciting things coming, not just virtually speaking here on World Pro Racing, but actually in real life. On behalf of Nico Hillbrand, my name's Alex Goldschmidt. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Good night. And World Pro Racing will be back in action tomorrow evening. Good night for now.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.